together with their teachers, Mr. Celis and Mr. Malquitor. And we also have guests of Senator S.P. Soto, the Senate President, Attorney Francisco Gacal, he is the City Legal Officer of General Santos City. We also have guests of our Minority Floor Leader, Senator Alan Cayetano, SK officials from Taguig Youth and Sports Group from Puerto Princesa, Palawan. Officials from Taguig, rather, and Youth and Sports Group from Puerto Princesa, Palawan. We also will have with us another guest of the Senate President, Commissioner Bong Ku of the Philippine Sports Commission, who is also a bemedaled bowling champion, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we dispense the reading of the Journal of the 19th session, Wednesday, September 10, 2025, and consider the same as approved, Mr. President.
Any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Secretary will proceed with the reference of business.
Bills on first reading. Senate number 1201, anak declaring Sitio Timoga in Buruun, Iligan, Lanao del Norte, an ecotourism zone, to be known as the Timoga Ecotourism Zone, appropriating funds therefore. Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committees on Tourism, Environment, and Finance.
1202, anak declaring the province of Benguet as the strawberry capital of the Philippines. Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform.
1203, anak providing for a new visa category for digital nomads, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Justice, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1204, anak providing for free maintenance medication, vitamins, and supplements for senior citizens. Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Social Justice and Health.
Senate number 1205, anak establishing the National Coastal Greenbelt Program, providing funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Aquino.
To the Committees on Environment, Natural Resources, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1206, anak governing civil liability and compensation claims for nuclear damage, repealing certain sections of RA 5207, the Atomic Energy Regulatory Liability Act of 1968, as amended. Senator Aquino.
Referred to the Committees on Science and Technology, Energy, and Finance.
1207, anak expanding the coverage of the National Feeding Program and mandating the procurement from local or small-scale farmers and fisher folk in the implementation of the National Feeding Program, amending RA 11037, the Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act. Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Agriculture.
1208, anak mandating the establishment of Muslim prayer rooms in all public offices and establishments. Senator Villar M.
The Committee on Cultural Communities.
1209, anak establishing the e-books for the barangay program and providing funds therefore. Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Local Government, and Finance.
1210, anak institutionalizing the pangkabuhayan sa pagbangon at ginhawa program and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Trade, Economic Affairs, and Finance.
1211, anak strengthening the Basis Conversion and Development Authority, amending for the purpose RA 7227, the Basis Conversion Development Act of 1992, as amended. Senator Villar M.
Referred to the Committees on Government Corporations, National Defense, and Finance.
1212, anak establishing canteens in public schools, providing healthy, balanced, and nutritious meals. Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Public Works, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1213, anak institutionalizing the nutrition care process as part of medical care in the Philippines. Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Finance.
Senate number 1214, anak to adopt integrated coastal management as a national strategy to ensure the sustainable development of the coastal and marine environment and resources, and to establish supporting mechanisms for its implementation and provide funds therefore. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Environment, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1215, anak creating an independent People's Commission to investigate anomalies in all government infrastructure projects, defining its powers and functions, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Soto III.
To the Committees on Justice, Civil Service, and Finance.
1216, anak prohibiting exploitative and deceptive practices in the buying or selling of admission tickets and providing penalties therefore. Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Justice and Trade.
1217, anak strengthening the Philippine Coast Guard by introducing policy and organizational reform. Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Public Services, National Defense, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1218, anak amending Republic Act number 11223, the Universal Healthcare Act and for other purposes. Senator Tulfo E.
To To the Committees on Health, Migrant Workers, and Finance.
1219, an act upgrading the minimum salary grade level of nurses from salary grade 15 to 19, amending Section 32 of RA 9173, the Philippine Nursing Act of 2002, Senator Zubiri.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Health, and Finance.
1220, an act strengthening the Philippine healthcare system to achieve efficiency, equity, and inclusivity, and to improve public health emergency preparedness, amending for the purpose RA 11223, the Universal Healthcare Act, Senator Villar C.
To the Committees on Health, Migrant Workers, and Finance.
1221, an act providing for the Magna Carta for ambulant vendors, Senator Villar C.
To the Committees on Social Justice and Local Government.
1222, an act defining the rights of women deprived of liberty in jails and correctional facilities and providing funds for their enforcement, Senator Villar C.
To the Committees on Justice, Women, and Finance.
1223, an act ensuring that senior high school graduates under the K-12 program are equipped with the knowledge, training, and skills demanded in the labor market, enhancing their employability and competitiveness, promoting the affirmative hiring of every graduate of basic education in the private and public sectors, creating the Batang Magaling Councils to strengthen multi-stakeholder collaboration and support for their employment, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Higher Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1224, establishing a digitalized overseas Filipino workers welfare and monitoring system, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committees on Migrant Workers and Finance.
1225, instituting a comprehensive national care and support plan for children with special needs, providing for their rights and welfare, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committees on Health, Women, and Finance.
1226, an act mandating the proper installation and maintenance of overhead electric distribution, communication lines, and structures by all electric distribution, cable, and telecommunications companies, Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committees on Public Services and Public Works.
1227, an act mandating higher accident and life insurance coverage for construction workers and holding contractors liable for workplace accidents, Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committee on, referred to the Committee on Labor.
1228, an act modernizing the Bureau of Immigration, defining its powers and functions, expanding, rationalizing, and further professionalizing its organization, upgrading the compensation and benefits of its officials and employees, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator De La Rosa.
To the Committees on Justice, Civil Service, and Finance.
1229, regulating and modernizing the practice of medical technology in the Philippines, repealing Republic Act numbers 5527 and 6138 and PD numbers 498 and 1534, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator De La Rosa.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Health, and Finance.
1230, an act increasing the personal economic relief allowance granted to government employees to 5,000 pesos and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Finance.
1231, an act promoting Philippine indigenous and traditional writing systems and providing for their protection, preservation, and conservation, Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Culture.
1232, an act providing for rules on plea bargaining agreement in criminal cases, providing penalties in violation therefore and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
1233, an act mandating the establishment of a population development office in all provinces, cities, and municipalities, amending Section 488A of RA 7160, the Local Government Code of 1991 as amended, Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Local Government.
1234, an act promoting the use of renewable energy technology in homes and strengthening the implementation of the net metering program, amending RA 9513, the Renewable Energy Act of 2008, Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Energy.
1235, an act providing free insurance for covered applicants of overseas employment certificates, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committees on Migrant Workers and Finance.
1236, an act granting the Philippine Sports Commission the authority to acquire real properties by other modes, amending for the purpose Section 7 of RA 11214, the Philippine Sports Training Center Act, Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Sports.
1237, an act reducing the recoverable system loss rate and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Energy and Public Services.
1238, an act establishing a rental subsidy program for informal settler families, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Urban Planning, Social Justice, and Finance.
1239, an act further amending PD 1606 as amended by RA 7975, RA 8249, and RA 10660, establishing territorial jurisdiction of RTCs on cases involving corrupt practices and acts committed by public officials. Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Justice.
1240, an act expanding the grant of 20% discount and exemption from the value-added tax to senior citizens to include medicines, supplements, vitamins, herbal products, and formulated milk medically duly prescribed or recommended by physicians. Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Ways and Means.
1241, an act institutionalizing support mechanisms for public school teachers and school personnel in matters of student discipline and mechanisms for classroom management and providing for their protection on cases related thereto. Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Women.
1242, an act providing for a national policy and regulatory framework for the Philippine telemedicine industry, promoting the delivery of health services using information and communications technologies and for other purposes. Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Health and Civil Service.
1243, an act institutionalizing the promotion of integrated urban agriculture and other emerging, innovative, sustainable agricultural production practices and technologies in cities and other strategic areas throughout the country to address food security concerns, appropriating funds and for other purposes. Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Ways and Means, and Finance.
1244, an act establishing the standards for a living wage, amending for the purpose PD 442, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines, as amended. Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committee on Labor.
1245, an act enhancing the universal access to quality tertiary education, act amending for this purpose RA 10931, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Higher Education and Finance.
1246, an act defining and penalizing espionage and other offenses against national security, Senator De La Rosa.
To the Committee on National Defense.
1247, an act establishing the comprehensive chemical engineering law, appropriating funds therefore, Senator De La Rosa.
To the Committees on Civil Service and Finance. And
1248,
Government Organization and Finance.
1248, an act granting survivorship benefits to the surviving legitimate spouse and dependent children of a deceased retired chairperson, commissioner, or labor arbiter of the National Labor Relations Commission, appropriating funds therefore, Senator De La Rosa.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Labor, and Finance.
1249, an act establishing environmental units in every banking institution to assess the environmental component of loan applications, Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Banks and Environment.
1250, an act creating the Environmental Protection and Enforcement Bureau under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, providing for its powers and functions and appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Environment, and Finance. The Majority Leader is requesting that we take up the additional revenues of business a bit later. So, Majority Leader, you have the floor. I think Senator Rowan Padilla wants the floor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Senator Padilla, you're recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo. Nais ko lamang pong kunin ang pagkakataon nito bilang parlamentaryong pagsisiyasat po. Sana ganap po dito sapagkat, Ginoong Pangulo, ako po'y naguguluhan. Sapagkat dito pong nakaraang Huwebes, meron pong naglabas na isang journalist ito, isang istasyon, na sinasabi na ako daw po ay nagngat-ngat dito sa loob ng Senado. Ito po ay
Ano po yung...
middle finger po. Habang tayo daw po ay nagsasagawa ng lupang hinirang, nagpa-flag ceremony, ako daw po ay nagngat-ngat. At ito po ay naging malaking issue. Ako po ay nagtataka, Ginoong Tagapangulo, sapagkat noong pong dati, na binigyan ako ng issue na isang chismis, naglabas po kagad ng ating Sergeant of Arms ng report at binigay niya po kagad sa media. Ito po, wala pong kahit na sino ang nagpapaliwanag na hindi ko po ginawa. Ang tanong ko po, meron po ba tayong tinititigan sa tinitingnan dito? Kasi napakabigat po ng akusasyon na ito sa harapan po ng ating bandila. Ako po yung magngangat-ngat. At gusto ko pong ipaalam sa ating mga kasama, kung politika lang, handa po ako mag-resign. Pero pagka-religion ko po ang pinag-usapan, kahit sino sa inyo, kung ano gusto nyo, wala pong problema. Pero wag pong religion ko. Inihingi ko po, wag pong religion ko, mahal na tagapangulo. Dahil ito po'y malaking kabastusan sa amin. Ito po, ang sinisip, naku po, ito po'y nag-iisang Diyos. Dito po nakasalalay ang aming pananampalataya. Handa po kaming magpakamatay para dito. Sana po wag pong gamitin ito para siraan ako. Dahil sinasabi ko po, mahal na tagapangulo, kung gusto niyo ako mag-resign, ngayon na, kung gusto ninyo. Wag niyo akong siraan. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po.
Tama po kayo, pero ngunit ang inyo pong lingkod bilang Pangulo, nung nakita ko po yan, ang sinabi ko sa kanila, tingnan muna nila yung mga litrato sapagkat nagpakita ng ibang litrato na kayo ay ang pintuturo ang nakataas at may eksplanasyon na ito ay isang religious practice kapag kayo ay nagsasampalataya sa bandila. Baka lang hindi nakarating sa inyo yung explanation na sinabi ko. Kaya ipagpatawad nyo na kung ang Sergeant at Arms so ang mga journalist natin ay hindi nila napansin yan. Ngunit ako mismo, nung tinanong nila, sinabi ko na tingnan nila. Merong mga pinakitang litrato ninyo sa kabilang side na malinaw na hintuturo ang inyong pinapakita.
Opo,
Kaya patawarin nyo na silang ng mga nagkamali at medyo natangahan pang pananaw.
Opo, mainam po sana maglabas din po ng formal na investigasyon at formal na pahayag ang Senado patungkol po dito. Kasi, Ginoong Pangulo, yung lumabas pong mga, meron pang parang dinoktor pa eh.
Meron pong, malabo yung isang litrato eh. Meron pong nilabas sa apology ang Rappler
Opo.
sa inyo.
Opo.
Na ito ay mali ang pagkakasabi nila na kayo ay merong ginawang, tawag niyo po, ingat-ngat.
Opo. Alam niyo po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Humingi ng tawad sa inyo. Ayan
Opo, pero napakainam po kung manggagaling po sa Senado sapagkat marami naman pong camera dito ang magsasabi na hindi ko po ginawa yan. Hindi ko po magagawa yan.
Tama.
Napakalaking pambabastos po niyan. Hindi ko po magagawa, Ginoong Pangulo.
Ako na mismo bilang Senate President o tagapangulo ninyo, ako na nagsasabi na hindi ninyo ginawa yan. At tama yung mag-apologize sila sapagkat mali ang pinakita nila. Patawarin nyo na sila. Meron pang isa, merong naglabas din ng isang fake news na meron daw kumakanta rito ng Bayang Magiliw na pababoy. Papayagan ba natin mangyari dito yun? Hindi po totoo yun. Hindi nangyayari yun. Nandito kami at wala tayong nakitang nagkumanta ng Bayang Magiliw dito o ng Lupang Hinirang dito na mali. Kaya dapat nag-iingat ang ating mga netizens. Na ibang napakahusay ng mga netizens natin kung tutuusin eh. Pero may mga ilan nakakasingit talaga ng mga fake news na ganyan. Siguro masyado na kayong popular kaya kayo pinaginitan.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Wala po nga naman. Yes, Senator De La Rosa.
Before we recognize Senator Bato de la Rosa, if he gives me the chance to help our distinguished colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, kung gusto niya po, siya naman po ang chairman ng Committee on Public Information, we can refer his manifestation to his committee and he can look deeper into it kung okay sa kanya.
Opo. Kung yun po ang mamarapatin at pinakamaganda, opo. Maraming salamat po, opo. Pinuno Mayoría.
Alright, so
Well,
any
at least-
objections?
Yes, kasi Mr. President, he can also invite PRIB because the PRIB of the Senate, pag may mga ganyan, pag lumabas ka agad, pwedeng i-counter ng PRIB. Hindi na maghihintay po si Senator Robin Hood Padilla na yung stop pa niya magka-counter. Pwede nang i-counter agad kasi mayroon ng mga record ng PRIB, Your Honor. So, if it's okay with the good chairman of the Committee on Public Information, then I so move, Mr. Chairman, that we refer his speech to his committee.
Alright, any objection? Chair hears none. The speech or the manifestation of the senator from Mindanao be referred to the Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. Senator De La Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, since nabanggit mo na lang rin na yung pagpangalaga sa lahat ng miyembro ng Senado ay isang tungkulin ng Senate President. I just would like to bring to the attention of the Senate President. I came across with the news. Now, when the Senate President was asked by a certain Christian Esguerra regarding the minority taking up the question about the custody of Bryce Hernandez. Ito po ang sagot ng ating Senate President, which I find it very, very, very sad because being the Senate President, we hope that you are going to take care of not only the majority, because you're not the majority leader, you're the Senate President, and we hope that the majority and the minority will be taken care of by the leadership of the Senate. And if I quote your answer, Mr. President, gimmick yan ng minority. Hindi ba nila naiisip na baka si Martin Romualdez ang tuta ko? Makabintang sila porque pinagbigyan ko yung TRICOM, tuta na ako. May ginawa ba akong illegal? Yung request ng House of Representatives, illegal? Hindi. Ang gusto ninyo, awayin ko yung House of Representatives on day one. Mamatay sila sa sama ng loob. So, malungkot lang ko ito, dalawang punto, Mr. President. Unang-una, yung mamatay sila sa sama ng loob. Kami, Mr. President, hindi mo po kami mapatay sa sama ng loob dahil hindi na po masama ang loob namin dahil tanggap na namin na kami ang minority. Ang kinasama lang ng loob namin is bakit kailangan pang patayin kami sa sama ng loob? Hindi na po masama ang loob namin. Tanggap na namin na kami minority. At pangalawang punto, Mr. President, gimmick lang ng minority yan. Ang Senado po, hindi po ito noon-time TV show na puro gimmick ang ating tinitingnan dito. Kami po ay nag-raise dito ng legitimate issues which requires legitimate attention. So, Mr. President, ako po ay nalulungkot which brings me to my parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President, na yung si Bryce Hernandez, yung kanyang custody was transferred, physical custody, I'm talking about physical custody, was transferred from the Pasay City Police Station to the Senate Sergeant at Arms room. Through, yung from correction, from Camp Crame to Pasay, it was done through plenary action. Now, lately we heard that he was again transferred from Pasay to the Senate without plenary action. This is my parliamentary inquiry. Kung is a parliamentary action can be subverted by an action which is not a parliamentary action? Yun lang tanong ko. Matter of procedure lang, Mr. President. Dahil kung ganun, kailangan klaruhin natin yung ating rules. Thank you, Mr. President.
Before I recognize the majority leader to place on record the recommitment of Mr. Hernandez, when I said mamatay sila na sama ng loob, we were addressing the trolls. Because it was the trolls who were saying something to that effect. Na misunderstood nila completely. No? I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to answer you here in the rostrum, but I cannot help but do that because you took the floor and parang sinisita mo yung Senate President, which is very unparliamentary. But nevertheless, I will answer you. Ano? Like, for example, yung sinasabi nila na sumunod daw ako kay Martin Romualdez. Just because I mentioned that Martin Romualdez called me, does not mean that ako'y sumunod sa kanya. The request was coming from the House of Representatives. And the request was to retain Hernandez in the Congress. At doon ako hindi pumayag. Is that being tuta? So you cannot help but also think na sasama ang loob ko pag binibintangan ako ng salita. Hindi po ba? So, ayun. Anyway, mabuti na yung masagot natin yan. At sinasabi ko sa kanila, yung mga trolls, yung mga sinasagot namin. Ngayon, to answer the issue of Mr. Hernandez, the majority leader may read the recommendation or the recommitment of Mr. Hernandez to the Senate custody.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, we made a study on the action that transpired the last 2 days on the recommitment of Bryce Hernandez dito po sa atin sa Senado. To put on record, this is how it transpired. Last week, it was requested by, of course, the House of Representatives that we detain him in the House of Representatives. Hindi po kayo pumayag. Ang sabi nyo, kung ganun po ang gusto ni Hernandez kasi ayaw nyo pong bumalik dito, ang sinabi mo, hindi pwede. Dapat neutral and safe area doon po sa PNP Custodial Center. So nagkaroon po tayo ng debate dito dahil it was our distinguished colleague Senator Marcoleta who raised the issue that why was he put in the PNP Custodial area and not to the Senate detention facility, which was seconded by many of the members of the minority. A debate ensued. After the debate, I asked for a minute suspension and we all suggested na sa Pasay City Jail na lang po dahil malapit po sa Senado. Pero let's not forget the fact that originally, the position of the minority was to bring him back to the Pasay City detention. It was only I who made the recommendation during the break that we keep it in Pasay City Jail because I approached the minority and you all agreed to my recommendation. And then after we started the session once more, the motion was done by the minority, graciously done by the minority to move him instead to the Pasay City Jail. But upon consultation of the chairperson of the Blue Ribbon Committee, Senator Lacson, the Senate President granted the request as the chairperson of the Blue Ribbon Committee requested that he be brought back to the Senate, which was really, yun talaga ang posisyon ng gusto ng ating minority at the time, para wala ng gulo, pumayag po kayo na dito na lang sa Senado at may request na rin po, for the record, may sulat po si Bryce Hernandez, ang mga abogado niya, na ibalik siya dito at yan po ay confirmed sa kanilang hearing this morning for his writ of amparo before the Pasay City Regional Trial Court. Sinabi po ay doon na lang po ako sa Senado ilagay. So, the Senate President acted on the request na gusto ibalik na lang po dito. Tayo naman po ang tayo naman po ay may kustudiya niya sa kanya. At as a matter of fact, while watching the press con of our distinguished good colleague Senator Marcoleta, nung tinanong sa kanya, sinagot po ni Senator Marcoleta ay tama naman po yan. Dapat talaga dito siya sa Senado kasi tayo po ang may kustudiya. Sinabi po ng ating mahal na senador yun. So we also pursuant to Article 6, Section 6 of the rules of the Blue Ribbon Committee, which states, a witness cited in contempt may be ordered to be detained in such a place, be designated by the committee or concurrence of the Senate President by either detention order or commitment order. And under that commitment order, wherein the witness cited contempt refuses to produce documents required of him and her or to be sworn or to testify or maliciously evades or misleads the committee or otherwise purge himself or herself of that contempt may be ordered to be committed to any jail or prison facility upon recommendation of the committee through the chairman or the concurrence of the Senate President. So in this case po, the chairman had requested that he be brought back to the Senate for detention. It's not a violation of any rule, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, thank you.
President.
Yes, the minority leader is recognized.
Mr. President, allow me some, gandang hapon po, and allow me to clarify some, for our own peace of heart and mind, and marami kasing nakikinig din na lawyers, legislators, para lang klaro yung records, no? There are a few things I rely on. I rely on rules. The Bible is full of rules, and I believe kung ano itanim, yan ang anihin. The Senate, may rules yan. So, minority, majority, sigurado tayong masusunod yung rule. And of course, sometimes we misquote each other or we have misunderstanding, but we find a way na mag-usap-usap. Minsan umiinit ang ulo. I thank Senator Veto for bringing it up. I thank the Senate President for clarifying that he was referring to those commenting outside because wala na po ni isa sa minority ang nagsabing tuta. I think that was comments outside the Senate. And it is fair game for whoever
is alluded to both ways po, di ba? Pagka may sinabi tungkol sa minority, pero hindi naman kayo nagsabi or hindi dito sa floor or sa media sinabi ng ibang kakampi or supporter, fair game yan. Part ng, another rule is the Constitution. So first, let me clarify yung pagiging unparliamentary. You cannot argue with the presiding officer. That is what, thank you very much. That is what is unparliamentary. You cannot argue with the presiding officer. Klaro yon, we all agree on that. But you can ask a question sa Senate President. Then the Senate President has an option to answer it himself or to pass it to the majority leader or whoever is in charge. But in this case, last week, because it was a decision by Senator Soto, our Senate President, hindi lang ng majority, our Senate President, you chose to answer it from there, which is your privilege. So we didn't mean to argue with you. But the procedure would be to either ask someone else to explain it or for the Senate President to go down at dito po mag-argue so that we do not argue with the Senate President. So if there was any form of disrespect, Mr. Senate President, we did not mean that. Pasensya na rin po kayo. But in the same manner, we have to argue our point of view and rules. Kasi dito, ang daming congressman na nabanggit and wala tayong sinasanto dito. So kung may senador na babanggit, so be it. We have to get to the bottom of all of this. We need a national reset. Dapat lumabas lahat ng katotohanan. Nung sinabi kong we all have to repent, totoo yun. We are all sinners, but that doesn't mean na yung most guilty, yung mga guilty, lahat ng involved dito ay hindi dapat ma-expose at dapat parusahan. Ang problema nga, may gumugulo. At kung ikaw ang mastermind, guguluhin mo to. So ang problema namin, Mr. President, is that, and I think the Senator Marcoleta, the former chairman, will bring it up, no? Wala pa tayo dun sa state witness, eh. Nandun pa lang tayo sa protection of the witness, sa mga diskayas. Pero lumipat po tayo dito sa Assistant DE. Nagulat po kami kasi nga, hindi binalik sa Senado when he was still chairman. And Majority Leader, just to be concise, I'll read the rule, ha? Sabi dito sa rules sa page 6 of 7, section 6, subparagraph C, a witness cited in contempt may be ordered detained in such a place that may be designated by the committee alone. May word po na alone. Or with the concurrence of the Senate President. And in our discussion, the new chairman admitted that he was not consulted. It was the Senate President. But I myself, I said, siguro pag nasa ganun sitwasyon, kailangan umakto kagad. I mean, the record, Mr. President, will bear me out, di ba? Na sinabi ko naman, di ba, na ayaw nyo magkaroon ng constitutional crisis, nagsalita yung House, nagsalita yung Senate. Ang problema nga po, hindi naman po simpleng request to ng Speaker of the House, eh. Yung mismong witness, siya nasusunod, eh. Sinabi niya dun sa House, eh, wag nyo na ako ibalik sa Senate, hindi siya binalik. So yes, initially, the issue was not where. The issue is not where to detain him. The issue is who has authority and ano ang rules natin. Ang rules natin yung committee. Ang committee hindi lang yung chairman. But at the last minute, napag-usapan natin dito at hawak ko po ang ating minutes or yung galing ba to sa journal? Transcript, no? Meron pong TSN po to. Nag-motion eh. Ang plenary po mas mataas sa committee. So, paano po nangyari na si Assistant DE, sa simpleng request niya, hindi yun naman nag-meeting yung committee. Ako as minority leader, automatic, hindi naman ako nakonsulta. So, ang problema namin sa minority is not really where he is detained. Eh. Ang problema namin, can we rely on the rules? Because ang tamang procedure doon, kung hindi natin pinagbotohan to sa floor, is that either the chairman decides and we all give our concurrence sa chairman or he informs us. May letter, anong tingin nyo? Then of course, masusunod naman yung majority, minority naman kami. Pero hindi na naman ganun nangyari. Tapos maririnig namin, mababasa na lang namin sa dyaryo or sa internet or maririnig namin ngayon sa majority leader na yun ang naging desisyon. Hindi pwedeng magdesisyon ang plenary tapos mababaliktad na lang ito. So the issue is not just Bryce. The issue is also the rules of the Senate. Ganun din po I don't know who wants to answer this. Ano ba ang rule natin pagdating sa CCTV? So, I put this on record. I will put it on record. Hanga ako kay Senator Lacson mag-imbestiga. And I support him to go all the way. But hindi ba kung meron tayong sinususpecha dito, you make a request for the CCTV. And then, you have a conclusion. Kasi kung hindi, lahat na lang tayo titingin sa CCTV. Tapos sasabihin natin dito, may nakita akong ganito, pumunta sa media. May nakita ko, pumunta sa ganito. Di ba? So, yes, the government is under attack and that's legitimate. The Gen Zs are rising up. That's legitimate. They should. But we should not attack ourselves. Kung meron guilty sa atin dito, i-expose natin tapos sa ethics committee. Huwag natin pigilan ng witness kung gusto ituro ni Bryce, kung siyam kami sa minor, ituro niya. Pero sundin natin yung rules, no? So before I let go of the floor, I think Senator Marcoleta on the same topic wants to say some things. But whether he will say it or not, Mr. President, no? I don't know the pleasure of the body sa plenary. At mas marami naman kayo eh. So kung gusto nyo dito sa Senate, de okay. And I think Senator Estrada also found out that both in the PNP custodial and in the Pasay City, walang taga-usaha. Tama ba yun? Sa custodial, hindi totoo na it was under the custody of USAA kasi walang taga-USAA ang nandun. So we do not know what transpired during that time. Kasi pagka under contempt, hindi punishment yun eh. Binibigyan mo ng oras yung witness pag isip-isipan kung magsasabi ng totoo, hindi. But if we allow people to come in and talk to him, hindi mo na alam kung sino nag-guide sa witness na yon. Ang pwede lang yung abogado niya, maybe his family. Diba? So I think this is legitimate without pointing fingers to anyone. I don't know what the Discayas will say. I don't know what Bryce Hernandez will say. Let them say everything they want to say. As Senator Ping naman said, may resibo. Pero katulad kay Joel Villanueva, peke yung resibo, ghost yung resibo eh. Hindi pala screenshot yun eh. Pinicturan pala ang cellphone. Ang screenshot, cellphone, sinave mo yung screen. Eto, cellphone, kinunan. O sabihin mo na, sige, let's not on technicalities. Tapos tignan mo yung laman. Yung laman, member daw siya ng CA, hindi siya member ng CA doon. At tapos na. Kay Senator Jinggoy, naka-Amerikana, minsan lang nga lang mag-Amerikana yung tao eh, nung birthday niya. Pero ang picture sinabi, birthday niya, hindi naman. So, yes, may resibo, pero may peking resibo eh. But we will address that at the right forum, Mr. President. But, again, we have to follow the rules. Sabi ng Supreme Court sa case ni Vice President Sara, sa tamang paraan, sa tamang panahon. Senator Marcoleta, will you... Same issue eh. Same issue ba? On. Yeah, same issue. So that isang sagutan na lang, maybe I can...
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
yes, we'd like to recognize Senator Marcoleta, please, Mr. President.
Senator Marcoleta is recognized.
Mr. President, I rise on a question of privilege. There are recent unsettling statements.
Yeah, Mr. President, just to, before, my apologies to Senator Marcoleta, because Senator Erwin has been quietly, diligently waiting for his turn to give his privilege speech.
Well, if Senator
If Senator
Marcoleta-
Erwin is willing to give way, we have no problem, Mr. President.
All right, go ahead. You may proceed.
And besides, Mr. Majority Leader, I'm rising on a question of privilege, which is the higher and preferred way of speaking before this body. Mr. President, I am armed by the explanation of the minority leader that we're not questioning the prerogative of the presiding officer, but we can question the Senate President on issues that are quite legitimate, such as the matters I would like to raise today. Unsettling because, Mr. President, on September 9, in your interview with ANC Head Start with Ms. Karen Davila about the Blue Ribbon Chairman being a lawyer, your answer is, there is no such thing as a rule na dapat abogado yun. Abogado ka nga, di ka naman magaling mag-imbestiga, di ba? So useless. Mr. President, I'd like to put on record, there was no inclination from this representation na meron man lang kaming sinabi na ang chairman ay dapat, chairman ng Blue Ribbon Committee ay dapat abogado. Wala po kaming kahit na shadow ng inclination. Any reference to that matter, wala po kaming sinasabi. Ngayon po, yung sinasabing abogado ka nga, di ka naman magaling mag-imbestiga, hindi ko po alam kung sino po yung tinutukoy ninyo, sapagkat narinig din po kayo sa inyong mga interviews. Sinabi niyo po, Mr. President, na maraming dissatisfied sa direction na tinahak po ng aking investigasyon nung ako pa po ay chairman ng Blue Ribbon Committee. Hindi ko po alam kung sino po yung dissatisfied sa mga members natin. Wala naman pong perpekto, Mr. President, pero sa akin pong pananaw ay ginawa ko po yung aking makakaya. Kung meron man po akong pagkukulang, ay humihingi po ako ng tawad sa aking mga kasamahan sa Blue Ribbon Committee. Ngunit hindi ko po sinadya na ilihis sa direksyon ng tamang pag-iimbestiga ang ating Blue Ribbon Committee. Noong September 10 po, 2025, ang programa pong Sa Totoo Lang, sa 1PH, nandun po yata si Joe Francisco, Chicky Berhel, Cheryl Cosim. Ang sabi po ninyo, with reference to the affidavit of the Discayas, may suspetsa kami na inedit yung affidavit. Mr. President, ito po ay indirect affront to the integrity of this representation. Yung lamang pong pagsuspetsahan niyo na inedit yung affidavit, paano kayo nagsuspetsa? Ano po ang ginamit ninyong batayan at pagsususpetsahan ninyo na maring inedit yung affidavit? Ako po bilang chairman ng Blue Ribbon Committee, nagpakaingat-ingat po ako nung sila po'y sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga taga-lapit, ay minabuti ko pong hingin sa kanila. Sumulat sila sa akin para malaman ko kung talagang meron silang kagustuhang magpahayag ng kanilang saloobin tungkol sa dinidinig natin sa Blue Ribbon. At gusto kong masatisfy ang sarili ko, Mr. President, kung totoo nga at kung bakit nila gagawin. So nakareceive po ako ng sulat sa kanila, handwritten. At nung malaman ko po na talagang galing sa kanila ang pagpapahayag na voluntaryo, sinabi ko, sige, gawin ninyo. At kinakailangan, bago nyo ibigay sa akin, notaryado na yon. At yun pong affidavit na yon, o subscribe sworn statement, Mr. President, ay naibigay sa akin, araw na po, maggagabi na po ng araw ng linggo, in a sealed envelope. At kung sinasabi po ninyo na ang SOP ay dapat na ibigay sa mga miyembro ng ating Blue Ribbon, wala na pong pagkakataon sapagkat sa umaga po alas 9 ay magsisimula na po ang Blue Ribbon Committee. Noong September 14 po sa Twitter ninyo, meron po kayong binanggit at ito po ang nakasulat. Very devious. Wala pang hearing ang Blue Ribbon ni Ping Lacson. Gusto ng ilang magpalitan agad. What are they so afraid of? Bakit minamadali WPP agad ito? Ano bang nangyari? Malalaman natin sa Blue Ribbon kay Senator Lacson, meron siyang investigasyon ginagawa tungkol dyan. Ano po ba yung pinanggalingan ng mga salitang yun, Sir President? Sino po yung natatakot? Sino po yung nagmamadali? kung ang inyo pong tinutukoy ay yung aking sulat para irekomenda na mag-apply sa Witness Protection Program ang mag-asawang Diskaya, yun po inaayon sa batas, Mr. President. Ito po ay naayon sa Section 4, Republic Act 6981. Ito po yung Witness Protection Act. Ang sinasabi po doon, in case of legislative investigations in aid of legislation, a witness with his express consent may be admitted into the program upon the recommendation of the Legislative Committee where his testimony is needed when in its judgment there is pressing necessity therefore, provided that such recommendation is approved by the President of the Senate. Ang committee po ay nagpasya, Mr. President, kasi hiniling po nung Diskaya sa kanilang sworn statement na meron tangka sa kanilang buhay, sa kanilang seguridad, ang kanilang pamilya at kanilang mga anak. Kung kami po ay nagmamadali, yun po kasi ang sinasabi ng batas. Para makapag-apply po siya na sa Witness Protection Program, ang chairman po ng committee sa pagsang-ayon ng kanyang mga miyembro, kailangan po kami gumawa ng sulat sa Secretary of Justice. Ayun nga po, ipinrepare namin kaagad. Hindi nga lamang po napirmahan ng pumalit na Senate President sapagkat nagpaliwanag siya, nalaman pala niya na meron palang presscon ang ating Department of Justice Secretary na doon sinabi niya, hindi raw siya magbibigay ng witness protection sapagkat kinakailangan munang ibalik ng mga Diskaya anumang pera ang kanilang nakuha sapagkat hindi kanila yon. Sa makatid, ang policy daw ng Department of Justice ay ibalik muna yung pera bago aksyonan ang kanyang aplikasyon sa Witness Protection Program. Mr. President, ako po'y nalulungkot. Maski sa aking press con kanina sinabi ko kung bakit ganun ang sinabi ng Secretary of Justice. Wala po sa tuntunin yun eh. Kung babasahin lamang po niya ang Section 3 at Section 10 ng Republic Act 6981, wala pong binabanggit doon na restitution, yung pagsusoli. Nag-uumpisa lang po sa pagsusuri, sa pag-iimbestiga ang komite. Meron na po bang halaga na dapat isoli? Na-determine na po ba yun? Meron na po bang ruling na kung ano yung, kung sino at gaano ang isosoli ng kung sino man ang may kasalanan? Meron na po bang ganun? Wala po eh. Prospective lang pong mag-a-apply eh. Nasa sections 3 and 10 ang mga requisites kung ano-ano po yun. Mga 10 requisites po yun. Yung restitution, wala po ron eh. Kaya po ako'y nalulungkot kung bakit po binanggit yun ng Secretary of Justice. Samantalang, nung pong linggo, bago magkaroon ng hearing no September 8, nagkausap pa kami at binigyan pa niya ako ng kasiguruhan na sige, ibigay mo na sa kanila ang pangangako na mabibigyan natin sila ng immunity sapagkat tayo naman ay magkapartner sa kagustuhan natin, pati yung Witness Protection Program ay ating maipasakagad. So yung pagbibigay po niya sa akin ng garantiya, kasama na po yung kanyang USEC. Yan ang nagbigay sa akin ng lakas na loob. Kaya ako'y sumulat kagad. Hindi ko alam na babaligtarin ako ng Department of Justice. Ngayon po, Mr. President, yun po ang ginamit ninyong dahilan kung bakit hindi nyo pinirmahan. Sana man lang po ay napakarami naman ninyong mga abogado sa inyong opisina rin. Binasa nyo sana yung batas. Kung yung restitution po ay isa sa requisite para ang isang tao ay makapag-apply man lang. Yun po kasi yung prinsipyo ng batas eh. Bago siya gumawa ng isang marahas na kapasyahan, alam niyang mag-aalanganin ang buhay niya. Magsasabi siya, nung inaakala niyang maaaring makapaglagay sa panganib ng kanyang buhay, kailangan nga bigyan natin din siya ng protection. Yun po yung batas eh. Hindi ko nga po alam kung bakit sasabihin ninyo, bakit may pagmamadali? Dito pa nga po, Dito pa nga po sa sinabi ninyo noong September 13, Mr. President. Ang reading ko, sabi po nyo, camouflage lang yun eh. To put me and the leadership of the Senate under the gun. Kunwari, merong naiinis sila. Kung bakit ko pinirmahan, kung bakit hindi ko pinirmang sulat sa DOJ. Baka may commitment sila to someone, to some people. Is there a commitment somewhere? Baka merong nakiusap na pwede silang ipasok sa Witness Protection Program. Lahat po ng ganitong mga pagsususpetsa is a direct affront to the integrity of this representation, Mr. President. As a member of the Senate, bakit po kinakailangan magkaroon tayo ng ganitong pahayag sa publiko na walang basihan ni katitingman? Ito po yung nakakalungkot. Noong September 10, sa bilyonaryo interview with Ms. Corina Sanchez, ang tanong po ni Ms. Corina, Bryce Hernandez natatakot daw po siyang bumalik sa Senado, may basihan po ba ang kanyang pangamba? Yun po yung tanong niya sa ating Senate President. Ang sagot po ng ating Senate President, sabi niya sa House, makatwid parang kinonfirm niya. Ang nangyari, yung mga congressmen nag-request na kung pwede daw, huwag ibalik sa Senate dahil meron daw siyang binabanggit na mga senador. So ang ginawa naman ng mga congressmen, nakiusap kay Speaker, si Speaker tinanong sa akin, dahil ang sinasabi raw kung pwede mo nang i-retain. Sabi ko, hindi pwede dahil sa legal custody namin yan eh. Dahil merong contempt dyan sa Senado. Nakikiusap sila kung pwede na wag sa Senate mismo, hindi naman i-retain sa House. Ang umandar sa akin, siyempre, yung tinatawag na parliamentary courtesy. Kasi meron silang nakakontempt doon, yung si Mendoza, gusto rin naman namin kunin yun. Alam ko later, iimbitehan namin yun. So ang nangyayari po, Mr. President, kaya ba dinidiscredit, kaya ba pinagsususpetsahan yung Diskaya, sworn affidavit, sapagkat may binanggit siyang 17 congressmen? Yun po ba ang dahilan? Bakit naman po nung yung Hernandez ay nag-testify sa House, bakit kagyat nating pinakinggan naman ang kanyang katwiran? Dahil may binanggit naman siya, di umano, na may kasalanan na dalawang kasama natin dito. At saka siya nagsabi na, huwag niyo na akong ibalik doon sapagkat manganganib ang buhay ko. Ang maliwanag po dito, pagka ang nagsasalita si Bryce Hernandez, parang merong kagad pagpapatibay. Parang pinaniwalaan na natin na maaaring manganganib ang buhay niya sapagkat meron siyang binanggit na dalawang kasama natin. Paano yung buhay ng Diskaya na inimbitahan nila doon? Na binigyan na, bigla na lang nating, wala man lang tayong aksyon. Samantalang 17 congressmen ang binanggit niya. Hindi niyo ba naisip, manganganib din ang buhay niya? Pero walang nagsalita dito sa atin. Yun po yung aking nakikita eh. Huwag po tayo mag-aaway-away. Ang ating pong hinahanap ay katotohanan lang. Pero kung ganito po ang gagawin natin, manggagaling po sa ating Senate President, magpapalipad po kayo ng salita na kami po ay wala namang kinalaman. Lalong-lalo na po ang representasyong ito. Kahit minsan wala po akong sinabihan na mas magaling po ako. Wala po akong sinabing ganun. Ang sinabi ko lang, ang pagkakaiba po ng investigasyon ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is in aid of legislation. Kung ang direksyon ko pong yun ay mali para sa inyo, nasa sa inyo na po yun. Pero yun po ang nalalaman ko. Sa 3 pagdinig lamang po, nasabi ko na po kanina sa press con, sa 3 pagdinig pa lamang po namin, nakita ko na po ang pangangailangan ng halos 14 na legislative measures na dapat natin kagad na ipasa. Para sa ganon, maayos natin, ma-address natin kagad ang malalang problema ng corruption sa ating bansa. Maraming salamat po sa pagkakataon, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Majority Leader,
Yes, Senator Kiko Pangilinan would like to be recognized, Mr. President.
an objection? Hearing none, Senator Kiko Pangilinan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is not an interpellation, just a manifestation. Mr. President, bago pa man naglabas ng affidavit ang mag-asawang Diskaya, nag-comment na po ako dahil narinig ko doon mismo sa hearing nung tinanong siya nung ilang mga senador, binanggit niya ang mga pangalan at sinabi niyang mula 2022. Hindi bago ng 2022. Wala pa ho silang affidavit noon, tinanong sa kanila sa hearing. Kaya noon pa man, nag-comment na ako. At ako mismo sa comment ko, sabi ko, mukhang Photoshop tsaka edited. Hindi yung testimonya, hindi yung affidavit kasi wala pang affidavit noon eh. Testimonya pa lang nung una o pangalawang hearing. Kaya, in fairness to the Senate President, kung sinabi niyang edited, I was not referring to, this representation was not referring to the affidavit or in any way referring to the chairperson of the Blue Ribbon Committee. I was referring directly to the testimony given during the hearing, public hearing, of the Discayas that they said they started flood control projects in 2016 and then went on to continue until 2025. And they too said na itong mga binanggit nilang pangalan ay sa 2022 lang. So, kahit na wala pa ho yung affidavit, doon pa lamang sa kanilang mga testimonya during the public hearing, nakita ko na mukhang hindi kapani-paniwala. At least this is my view as a lawyer na mukhang kung gagawin silang state witness, kinakailangan buo, hindi edited. And when I refer to edited, sila bilang mga testigo, ine-edit nila. Hindi yung chairman ng komite, hindi yung sa abita. I was not referring to the affidavit, I was referring to their testimony when the affidavit had not yet been actually submitted. Just for the record, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Pangilinan.
In addition, Mr. President, in addition, point number 2, sorry. I was a member and continue to be a member of the committee, the Blue Ribbon Committee. Unfortunately, as was pointed out by the former chairperson, it is the committee that decides as to whether or not we will agree to have a witness taken as a in custody to become a witness under the Witness Protection Program. Unfortunately, as a member of the committee, I was not able to read the letter of the chairman then addressed to the Department of Justice. So in that case, Mr. President, sabi siguro kanina, if I heard correctly, nagmamadali dahil nga yung seguridad ng ating mga magiging witness dapat ay paramount. Pero sa akin, mas paramount siguro na may process na ang mga committee members makita man lang yung sulat bago ito'y ma-repair sa Department of Justice. Wala akong nakita, wala po akong nabasa, nakita ko na lang sa dyaryo, Mr. President.
Mr. President, kailangan lang masagot yung manifestation ni Senator Kiko.
For a while,
Importante lang,
Senator Marcoleta,
Mr. President.
you have not been recognized yet. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, we'd like to recognize, he may be allowed, if with the permission of the Senate President, let him allow him to answer, or at least reply to the manifestation of Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and then after we'll recognize our Senate President for his interpellation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Wait for a while. Senator Marcoleta is recognized.
Thank you. Maalala po natin, Mr. President, na nung pangalawang hearing po ng Blue Ribbon Committee, doon po namin finload yung idea na kung nais po ng mga resource persons, particularly po yung mga 15 contractors na naimbita sa ating Blue Ribbon, kung gusto ninyo na magsalita kayo, come into the open, pinload po namin sa second hearing yon. Makakatulong po kayo sa Estado, lalong-lalo na po kung magbabanggit kayo ng mga taong alam ninyo na mas malaki kaysa sa inyo kung bakit nangyari ang matinding korupsyon sa ating bansa. So pinupload po natin yung idea na maaari silang mag-apply under the Witness Protection Program. Kaya po yung una nilang pananalita, nung sila ay wala pa po at hindi pa nakumbinsi siguro na lalabas, iba po yung kanilang testimony sigurado. Ngunit nung malaman nila na may pagkaseryoso naman po yung offer namin, na kung makakatulong po kayo, magsabi na kayo ng totoo, baka po, sabi namin, yung criminal prosecution, madidispense na yon, pinaka most likely siguro, pagdating ng araw, civil liability na lang ang haharapin ninyo. Meron po akong paniwala na pinag-isipan nilang mabuti yon, kaya lumabas yung mag-asawa na yon. Nung lumabas sila, natural, dahil sa magsasabi na sila ng totoo, lalabas po talaga kung anong gusto nilang sabihin. Maring taliwas po doon sa narinig na nauna na pahayag ni Senator Kiko. Sa mga tweet, hindi po pwedeng pagbasihan yung nauna nilang pagsagot sapagkat hindi pa sila nakapagpasya na kanilang sasabihin na kung anong nalalaman nilang totoo sa kanilang kalooban. Yun po yung totoong nangyari ron. Kaya hindi po ako naniniwala nang dahil lamang doon sa maaring hindi pareho nung una yung kanyang testimony at doon niya na sinabi yung buong katotohanan, ay maaring edited o maaring may pagbabago o hindi pwedeng pagbasihan. Sa aking palagay po, ang pinag-uusapan natin, ano man yung kanilang sinumite, wala pong karapatan ang sino man sa atin na husgahan yun eh. Yun po yung kanilang nalalaman eh. Pagdating po ng araw, ang korte na po ang gagamit doon. Kung sakasakaling matapos po yung investigasyon na ito, nagkaroon po ng committee report at sinumiti po at ang rekomendasyon po ay ipagsakda lahat ang mga tao may kinalaman dito. Yun pong mga ganong klaseng dokumento ay pupunta rin sa korte eh. And in the final analysis, only the court can determine yung veracity o yung kawalang katwiran, kung meron man, ng mga naunang pahayag. Yun po yung gusto naming mapansin, Mr. President. Salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. The Senate President is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I decided to go down from the rostrum so that I can either answer or debate with any or with any interpellations from our colleagues. No? But let me just try to explain some of the points that were raised that, to me, and that is my opinion, inaccurate yung mga intindi or inaccurate yung perception in these interviews that the media has been conducting with me. Ang totoo nga yan, dami ko pa nga iniiwasan na interview eh. Kukunti pa nga yun eh. Pero whenever I am asked, I come out with my opinion. You don't like my opinion, but you have to respect it. In much the same way as I respect your opinion, whatever it is. No? But when it comes to the issue of legal, there are rules to follow. So let me start with what the minority leader said as far as the Blue Ribbon Committee is concerned and the order. Malinaw sa rules natin eh. A witness cited in contempt may be ordered by detained in such a place as may be designated by the committee alone or, andun yung or with the concurrence of the Senate President by either one detention order. So it's the Senate President has the power to do that. Ngayon, nung binibigay sa akin yung sulat para i-recommend yung witness protection program ng mga diskayas, ang feeling ko incomplete eh. Ang usapan at narinig ko ito kay Secretary of Justice, kailangan tell all, hindi tell half. Di ba? Ang mga binabanggit, 2022 to 2025 eh. Sila number one contractor, 2016 to 2022 eh. Ba't wala doon ang kwento? Di ba? So, you cannot blame me if I do not want to immediately do that. No? And then I know for a fact, as I said in the media, I know that there is a possibility that we will change the leadership the following day. All right. Now let me continue with some of the opinions that were aired. Well, of course, yung nabanggit kanina ni Senator De La Rosa, pasensya na, baka nabigla ako at nagamit ko yung salitang gimmick, ano? Pero it could be had been a wrong word that I should not have used, no? Pwede kasing opinion yon sapagkat yung public ang madalas kong marinig na sinagsasabi nun eh. Ano? Now, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing illegal or out of the rules that we have done. My opinion, as aired, kung hindi nyo nagustuhan, pagpasensya nyo ako. Kung hindi nyo nagustuhan yung mga sinabi ko, na opinion ko. Pero I never mentioned names. When I said, baka na-edit, tama yung sinabi ni Senator Pangilinan. Iba yung thinking eh. Bakit iisipin nyo kagad na pinapa-edit ko yung affidavit? Hindi ba? Hindi eh. So, and when I say those things, you should not feel alluded to. Wala naman akong binanggit na pangalan eh. Di ba? And then yung tinatanong, binanggit yung tungkol sa the Blue Ribbon being a lawyer, does not have anything to do with Senator Marcoleta. It was a question by the public. It was a question even by Secretary Claire Castro or Attorney Claire Castro. The question was, di ba kailangan abogado yun? So, that was asked of me. And I said, no. Nothing in the rules says so. Wala naman talaga eh. As a matter of fact, we elected Sani Alvarez as Blue Ribbon Chairman for 2 years. And he is not a lawyer. Binagdebatihan na namin nila Neptali Gonzales yan, saka nila Ernie Maceda yan, matagal na. Ano? No. He's never a lawyer. Sani Alvarez was not a lawyer. Oh, we even debated about it. No, I am very sure, 100%. Oh. Anyway, so again, no, wala akong binabanggit na gano'n. You should not feel alluded to when I say na among kasi, tinatanong nila, hindi naman daw abogado Senator Lacson. Magaling na investigador eh. Di ba? Talo niya ng karaniwang abogado. Hindi ko sinabi, si Senator Marcoleta, abogado na yun, o sino pang abogado. I never mentioned any name. I was saying, napakadaming abogado sa Pilipinas, libo-libo. So, a lawyer who was not well-versed in investigation, mas gusto ko na yung investigador. That was my point. Ano ba? Why will you feel alluded to, Mr. President, if I did not mention your name? Di ba? Now, again, as far as the rules are concerned, the Senate President has the power to order his transfer, especially in this case, na I asked the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee after they sent a letter, and it was done in court. It was done in the RTC 112 this morning. That was where the letter was transmitted to Attorney Valentina of the Senate Legal, who was representing the Senate in the hearing of the writ of amparo. Yun ang istorya nun. So the request was go back to the Senate. Ay sabi ko maganda, if that is your request, because that is precisely what the members of the minority wanted. Hindi ba? So no question. O ba't may question ngayon? Nalilipat natin, binalik natin sa Senate custody. Ano? And then also, to be fair to the OSAHA, every day, they monitor wherever that person is. Kahit na nung dinala natin yung si Colonel something sa Muntinlupa, mayroon tayong sa Pasay City Jail, si Balad ba yun? You don't need to have an OSAA there the whole day, 24 hours. It's not necessary. The important thing is it's under the custody of a legal custody. Yun ang importante ron. So hindi kailangan nakabantay OSAA doon. Now, if you want to change the rules, then you propose some amendment to the rules. Na gusto niyo, OSAA nakabantay kahit saan natin ilagay. Alright? Now, maraming nabanggit kaya isa-isayin natin to. Pasensya na kayo. Ang Witness Protection Program, ang pagkakaalam ko, magkakaroon ng immunity from criminal prosecution. So, kung natatakot sila sa kanilang security, billion-billion ang pera nila Ang dami nilang pwedeng bayaran security guard Kahit 1,000 security guard kaya nila Bakit kailangan ang gobyerno? Ay galit na ang mga tao dahil hindi nga natin malaman kung ilan yan, kung nangyari nga yan, kung sila nga yan, hindi po ba? Kaya we were just trying to be prudent. Konting konting hinay. Huwag yung sasabihin natin. Kaya sabi ko, ba't tayo nagmamadali? I'm not pertaining to any senator. Bakit, sana do not feel alluded to if I don't mention your name. Di ba? And then, state witness, there is no other direct evidence available for proper prosecution So, it is not applicable to the Discayas. At saka hindi rin pwede sapagkat ang pananaw ng karamihan, ang pananaw ng taong bayan, sila most guilty. Ang pwede sa Witness Protection Program, not the most guilty. Yun ang sinasabi ng batas. Anyway, as I said, the Senate President has the power to order the transfer. And if I have used a word that does not conform to your palate, then pagpasensyahan nyo. Pag ganun, pagkat karamihan ng binanggit ko, opinion ko. Kung ako ini-interview ng media, I always, as far as I'm concerned, tell the truth. Pag ang media kausap mo taong bayan Ganun yun. Kaya iniiwasan ko na hindi ako magsabi ng totoo. Kung opinion ko hiningi, binibigay ko opinion ko, hindi ko tinatago. So if you don't like my opinion, I'm sorry, Mr. President. But that's how it is. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President.
What is the pleasure of the minority leader?
Yeah, Mr. President, because I mentioned some of that, may I be allowed to interject? And then, of course, it is the pleasure of the Senate President if he wants to answer again.
The minority leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unang-una, Mr. President, sa rule, verbal lehis. Kapag ka very clear, plain interpretation, clear po yun. You do not interpret. Ang sinabi po sa Rule 6, a witness in contempt may be ordered detained in such a place may be designated by the committee alone. Alone. Ibig sabihin po, yung committee lang. Ano yung with? Kasama. With concurrence of the Senate President. Hindi nakalagay or the Senate President. So you ask all the lawyers here, they will tell you, ang ibig sabihin nito, pwedeng kumuha ng concurrence or pwedeng hindi. Yun yung or. Hindi po to committee or the Senate President. That's why if you go to the last paragraph, the order may be lifted by the chairman with the concurrence of the Senate President. The Senate President cannot lift ang nakalagay doon with the concurrence. Hindi rin pwedeng yung committee. So, na-violate po rules natin because it was not the committee alone. As I said, personally, I don't take it against the Senate President nung unang araw na pag-upo niya. Kasi unang-una po, kakapalit lang ng Senate President. Pangalawa, tumawag yung Speaker, nagkaroon ng debate. Having said that, it is very clear in the rules and in the Constitution, meron Supreme Court cases yan, that the plenary is supreme. Even the Senate President said, di ba, primus inter pares, he's just the first among equals. Equal tayo lahat. But of course, he represents the Senate. So when the plenary decided to put him in Pasay City Jail, ang makakalift po niyan, hindi po yung committee, hindi po yung Senate President, it's the plenary. So we violated our rules. That's why we stood up to correct. Okay, let me go now to the Witness Protection Program. Let me first mention, I love the humility of the Senate President. in the sense na sinabi niyang opinion niya yon, and of course, the Constitution guarantees him his opinion. But let us remember, Senator Tito Soto, before Monday, gave the opinion of a senator. But after Monday, he's giving the opinion of the Senate President. There's a thin line between the opinion of the Senate President for the Senate and the opinion of Senator Tito Soto. Both are valid. He always studies. He always knows what he's talking about. But magkaiba po yun eh. Magkaiba yung dinidebate ko siya sa opinion niya at yung opinion ng Senate President bilang Pangulo ng Senado. So for example po, Mr. President, and let me address then Senator Kiko, although in a sense it's none of my business because he was manifesting that in the Blue Ribbon Committee. Iba po ang Witness Protection Program, Section 3, Admission in the Program. Iba po yung Section 10, State Witness. Iba po yung Section 17, Discharge of a State Witness. Yung pong sinasabing he does not appear to be the most guilty, yan po ay tatanggapin natin pag state witness na, wala po tayo doon. Nandun pa lang tayo sa Section 3 protection. So let me make that clear ha. Kasi po ang nasabi ng Senate President, paano yun yung perception ng tao, most guilty sila? First of all, I don't agree. Kaya nga nagrarally, alam ng tao may mastermind sa likod nila. Di ba? Napakagaling naman ng diskaya na pati bycam, pati budget, pati everything, sila ba nagpapatakbo ng gobyernong Pilipinas? Di ba? They probably could be one of the most guilty na may kasama sila, pero it is very much possible na may mastermind behind them. At hindi lang po sila ang may ghost. So kung sila ang mastermind, then ibig sabihin, for example, ano pa? Wow, Sims, etc. Ibig sabihin nun, kasama din sila. Pero kung ginagawa din ng Sims yun, ginagawa din ng Wawaw, maaring individual racket yun, maaring meron pong mastermind. Maaring nasa DPWH yung mastermind. Maaring nandito sa Senado, maaring nasa Kongreso. Maaring napakataas ng posisyon. Hindi ko po alam. But assuming for the sake of argument, perception ng tao, ang perception po is not reality. Trabaho natin to find reality para mabago yung perception. So papakawalan po natin ang possible witness kasi tingin ng tao siya ang most guilty. So, halimbawa po kay Napoles, if there was someone most guilty, wag na natin habulin kasi tingin ng tao siya most guilty. Dapat kinabol natin. No? Ngayon, siya mukhang most guilty, siya yung nakakulong. What's my point, Mr. President? Bakit nag-react si Senator Marcoleta? If I may, Senator, I cannot speak for you, but you're my good friend. Mr. Senate President, siya lang naman ang mamadali kaya siya tinamaan. Pero tama na magdali siya. Bakit buhay Pag sinabi ng isang witness that his life is in danger, whether we agree with that witness or not, we have to protect their lives. Kahit payag tayo o hindi. Kahit tingin natin nagsisinungaling o hindi. Bakit po? Okay, number one, wala pong magnanakaw na hindi sinungaling. Kaya nga ang kapatid ng magnanakaw ay sinungaling. Bakit po? Ghost project. Pinirmahan mo na may project So nagsinungaling ka na may project kasi wala Di ba? Ninakaw mo, hindi sa'yo yun. Pinalabas mo sa'yo, nagsinungaling ka na. So magkapatid po yun. Hindi nga magkapatid, it's the same person. So pagka nahuli, hindi ka agad aamin yan. Magsisinungaling muna yan. Hindi ako yan. There is a process and a time, and tama po si Senate President, tama po the esteemed Senator Kiko, dumaan sa proseso. Ang problema natin, ayaw natin sa proseso. Protection pa lang, sinasabi nila, papatayin sila. So pagka yan, binigyan mo ng protection, kasunod na doon, sandali lang, ano ba alam mo? So question, paano yan baka magsinungaling? Hindi po. Bakit? Sabi po sa Section B ng Section 3, Section B, his testimony can be substantially corroborated on material points. So again, quoting Senator Lacson, may resibo. But quoting myself, hindi peke na resibo, hindi ghost receipts. So ibig sabihin po, pagkatapos mo bigyan ng proteksyon, papupuntahin mo ngayon sa DOJ. Doon mo na pakakantahin. Doon mo na i-assess. Bakit importante to? Kasi pag nakita ng SIMS, nakita ng Wawaw na may kumakanta na, mag-uunahan na yan sa DOJ kung sino ang kakanta. Parang karaoke yan. Pag hindi pa naka-on at wala pang may hawak ng mic, walang gustong kumanta. Pag kinuha na ang mic at kinanta na yung My Way, agawan na sa mic yon. Habang walang kumakanta kung sino ang mastermind dito, wala, liligawin po tayo. Ngayon, I feel for the Senate President. If part of him feels we're wasting time, may I admit, Mr. Senate President, dear colleagues, part of me feels that we might be wasting time. Bakit? Instead of using this to find the mastermind. Senator Lacson, I appreciate what you've been doing. Having said that, let's go back to the rules. Pag binigyan mo ng protection ng mga diskaya at hindi sila magsabi ng totoo, that can be corroborated in material points. I-discharge mo sila, bahala sila sa buhay nila. Pero may mga techniques yan. Sa ibang bansa, yung kanilang Attorney General, DOJ, sasabihin yan, paano yan, kumakanta na? O kaya sasabihin sa diskaya, papakawalan ka namin, walang protection, pero ipagkakalat namin, sinabi mo na sa amin, ayaw mo lang pirmahin kung sino ang mastermind. So, there are different techniques that are legal to ferret out the truth. Pero hindi naman pwede pong, sabi nga ni Senator Escudero pag binanggit ang congressman, hindi credible. Pag binanggit ang senador, credible. Pag binanggit 2022, papunta ngayong credible, hindi binanggit. I myself think dapat banggitin na 2016. Ba't banggitin nyo rin 2010 to 2016? Wala naman nagsabing graft-free ang DPWH noong 2010 to 2016 Sa bayan namin, contractor, congressman, doon na uso yung sheet piling 2010 to 2016. Bago noon, walang sheet piling sa Taguig. Pero yung sheet piling na isa sa mga pinaka-corrupt ways of flood control, nangyari po to 2010 to 2013 or 2016. So let's get to the bottom of it. But let's follow the law. Yung state witness, malayo pa yon. So nung una ko nabalitaan, kailangan state witness, I disagreed with Senator Marcoleta and went up to him and said, Boss, baka magkaiba tayo ng opinion kung dapat si Diskaya. Pero tama nga siya, wala pa tayo dun, nasa protection pa lang . Hindi pa natin naririnig kung anong sasabihin nila. Ngayon, kung, hindi ko na itutuloy, pero yung initials na lang, kung BS ang sasabihin sa atin, buisit sila. I-release mo sila ulit. Diba? Pero paano po kung willing sila magturo? Last point. Iba po ang discharge of the accused to state witness. I think it was JV Hinlo sa Facebook na nagsasabing, remember, hindi all or nothing to. Pag state witness ka, hindi ibig sabihin, totally discharged ka na. Pwedeng halimbawa, imbis na 5 habang buhay na pagkakulong, 1 habang buhay na pagkakulong ka na lang. Ngayon yung sinasabing kailangan isoli yung pera, I agree with that. 100% dapat may restitution. 100% dapat ibalik. Sa Biblia nga, doble pa dapat ibalik. Ito lang po ang tanong. Wala sa batas yun . Wala sa batas. That's a matter of public policy. So what does it mean? Patawag mo muna yung mga diskaya o anong willing nyong gusto sabihin. Okay. Makorroborate nyo ba? Ibig sabihin, meron bang resibo yan? So sinabi mo, eto binigyan ng 30%, nasaan yan? Kasi hindi ko na po babanggitin ngayon Or babanggitin ko na po ngayon. Sa Taguig, may project po ang mga diskaya. Open bidding Pero kung hindi ako magkakamali, sa Pasig, meron din pong project ang mga diskaya. Both kay Mayor Vico sa City Hall at both sa And siya pa nga nagsabi nun, kung hindi ako nagkakamali This is not an expose. I'm just telling you as a fact. And I'm looking at when tong mga project na to. So far, wala pa kami nakikitang ghost. So far, may nakikita kami. Maganda pagkagawa, okay or pangit, pero subcon daw. Hindi ko alam. Of course, malicious yung pagka-post. Malicious, mali na delicious. Malicious. Kaya pinagpepestahan kasi pag sinabi 1 billion in 3 years, Taguig has 1% of the population of the Philippines. We have 1.3 million people, almost 1%. Taguig is one of the biggest income earners of the Philippines. So ang infra ng Taguig is between 7 to 9 billion. So sa 7 billion a year, in 3 years, 21 billion. Ang 1 billion mo, wala pang 4%. Ang Taguig used to be underwater for 3 months. Pag umulan ng December or November, hanggang January na yon. Awa ng Diyos, hindi masyadong bumabaha ngayon. Very minor. So what's my point? Imbestigahan niyo po kami. Huwag niyo pong i-exempt ang kahit anong city. Huwag niyo i-exempt si Alan Cayetano. Huwag niyo i-exempt ang congressman namin. Huwag niyo i-exempt yung kapatid ko na dating mayor. Huwag niyo i-exempt si Vico Soto. Huwag niyo i-exempt si Joel Villanueva. Lalong niyong huwag i-exempt si Jinggoy Estrada. Huwag niyo i-exempt ang mga congressman. Pero bakit? Sandali lang. Nagsalita ka diskaya, bawal ka na. Pero ikaw, Bryce, dahil senador binanggit mo, sige, sabihin mo lang kung saan mo gusto, doon ka na magstay. Hindi ata tama po iyon. No? So, ganun din ang hamon ko sa DPWH. Para kuman kapatid, yung bagong sekretary, hinahamon ko siya na saan na ang listahan ng lahat ng projects, ang lahat ng 15, para isang posting na lang tayo. Hindi yung parang nachismis ka na magse-Senate President ka, biglang may lalabas na listahan. O, nachichismis si Lito, nakikipag-usap sa akin, baka may lumabas na listahan sa'yo. Pinag-uusapan namin yung paborito kong Maha Blanca ba tawag doon? Na dinadala niya, tibok-tibok pala, tibok-tibok. So Mr. President, I understand the stress. Bagong upo ang majority, the country is in turmoil in sense of finding an answer, but there are rules we have to follow. So, mahaba pa to, pero witness protection program, doon pa lang po sa protektahan. Marami siyang pera, may security. So, kung napatay siya, we will never know. We will never know who the mastermind is because a simple sulat order na please protect them. Protect them, give them 48 hours. Pag hindi sila nagsabi kung sino. Pag sila nagsabi, pero BS ulit yung sinabi nila, di-discharge natin. Number 3, hindi po kami ang nag-request ng meron pong taga Office of Sergeant at Arms. Pinapaliwanag namin na sinabi na pag may nangyari sa kanila, pag dito sa Senate, yung perception na sumusunod tayo sa witness. Ang majority ang sumagot ng may legal at may actual or physical custody, pero parating under OSA yan at yung OSA masusunod. Hinahanap ko yung transcript kung... Yeah. Okay, anyway, hinahanap ko kung nabanggit na meron taga-OSA doon. Pero nabanggit ko, I know, wag na tayo mag-ubos ng oras to look at the TSN. Ang concern namin, sinong magko-coach o kakausap sa kanya doon. Don't worry, mahigpit ang rules, di ba? Tapos nandun ang USAA, wala nga yung USAA doon eh. So yun ang point namin. Hindi po namin krinikriticize ang USAA, hindi namin nahanap. Pero napakabigat ng ano na to, ng mga allegations dito eh. So yung integrity ng witnesses, napaka-importante. Opinion, I agree with you, Mr. Senate President. Dapat hindi dapat hindi tinatamaan. Nabanggit nyo, devious, ibig sabihin, makademonyo, yung plot na magkakaroon ng bagong Senate President. Unang-una, ang nagbanggit na mag-ingat sa coup ay kasama nyo sa majority nung Thursday dito, hindi kami sa minority. Pangalawa, 2007 pa ako nandito sa Senado. Wala pa akong nakitang minority dito na ayaw maging majority. Si Coco Pimentel, tuwan-tuwa sa magiging minority, pero gusto niya maging majority at gusto niya maging Senate President. Sa 24 sa atin dito, baka si Lito Lapid lang ang ayaw maging Senate President. Pero baka gusto mo rin. Baka gusto mo rin. Pwede rin. Pwede rin. Oh. So, 3 na lang kailangan natin, Supremo. 9 na kami, pang 10 ka, 3 na lang, 13, Supremo. Okay. What's my point, Mr. President? Hindi po kami ang nagsabing may plot. Alam niyo po kung nabasa ko to sa Facebook, napakaganda. Sabi niya, what is the difference between stupidity and intelligence? Sabi niya, ang intelligence may hangganan. Tama nga naman, wala naman hangganan ng stupidity, di ba? So tanong ko sa inyo, mga kasama ko, sa minority man majority, sinong tanga na magkuku, tapos i-announce, tapos ilalagay sa Facebook na may numero na sila? Di ba? Wala naman magkuku. Tapos i-announce, tapos sasabihin na meron. Siyempre, lahat tayo may supporter, kinikilig yun. O ilabas natin bukas na si JB Ejercito ang magiging Senate President, kikiligin po ang mga supporter ni JB Ejercito. Ilagay po natin na si Jingoy Estrada, kikiligin supporter niya, magagalit naman yung galit sa kanya. So, we respect the majority and your prerogatives, Mr. President, di ba? Wala akong kinausap na senador over the weekend. In fact, nahiya ako sa minority because ang paalam ko sa kanila, minority leader. Di ba? But I can tell you straight in everyone's faces with all humility, dahil alam nyo to, you offered me the Senate presidency in 2016. Pero ang kasama doon ay magiging Secretary ay Justice Committee si Leila de Lima na alam kong ang tanging pakay ay tanggalin si Duterte, plus other committees that I did not agree with. That was the cost. Hindi ko kayang bayaran yung cost na yon. Hindi ko kayang bayaran yung cost na yon. So, I lost it. Napunta kay Coco Pimentel and it was good for the country. Panay Mindanao. But yun yung cost. Oh, it was offered to me again last month. But sabi ko, hindi ko kayang saksakin sa likod. Kahit sa harap, hindi ko kayang saksakin si Cheese Escudero. So, humanap ng ibang kandidato. And I think, at this time, Senator Soto has a role to play. And he is Senate President. Diba? So, if and when it is offered to me, it will be in terms that I can pay the cost. Kasi lahat yan may cost eh. Eh, ang hirap maging independent po ngayon. Bawat galaw natin, ituloy natin yung hearing, may galit kasi may independent commission na. Huwag natin ituloy ang hearing, parang may pinagtatakpan tayo. That's why I'm glad that Senator Lacson said, tuloy yung hearing. Let's focus, may mastermind dito. Yung mastermind ang kailangan mabunyag. Bakit? Kasi kung hindi uulitin. Pangalawa po, may kultura, naging madali sa mastermind, kasi kultura nating corruption. Sa maraming paraan. So, Mr. President, I beg to disagree that hindi nasunod ang rules. But we're starting out. And our plate is full. Sa minority, we have a nation-building agenda. We plan to participate sa budget hearing. Sinabi, wala ng flood control funds. Some want it sa feeding program, some want it sa education, some want it in different programs. So we'll all be busy here, but we have to establish. So what do we do now? I do not know the pleasure of Senator Jinggoy or the pleasure of the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee kung siya hold. But as of now, hindi natin i-reverse ang plenary sa Pasay City Jail. If you ask me to vote, ako gusto ko dito. Kasi hindi naman penalty ang contempt in the sense na gano'n, no? But Mr. President, hindi naman pwedeng magbobotohan tayo dito sa plenary tapos i-reverse ng kung sino man.
Yeah. Yeah, with may be recognized.
Yeah, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just on the technicalities of the rules, let me just state for the fact na yan po yung original request ni Senator Marcoleta. There was a letter given to the Senate President at the time that Bryce Hernandez be remanded back to the Senate. So for clarity lang po yan. And then we had a debate after the Senate President tried to look for a win-win solution after the witness had asked, going back to what I said earlier, that he not be brought back to the Senate. When the new Senate Blue Ribbon Chair was elected, which is the gentleman on the podium today, Senator Panfilo Lacson, he conferred with the Senate President. Nilalagay ko lang po yung proper context, no? Kinausap niya yung Senate President na ibalik na lang po sa Senado. So, wala po talaga tayong bina-violate na rule niyan. Although, I think to keep this long story short, Mr. President, naawa kasi ako kay Senator Erwin Tulfo. Kanina pa naghihintay ng 3:30. Yan ang pangako ko sa kanya na magbigay siya ng privileged motion and privileged speech. Para, ano lamang po, para siguro ma-rectify itong problemang ito. May we ask the gentleman, are you objecting to the recommitment of the witness to the Senate? Because if so, then I'll make the proper motion and we will sustain the decision of the Senate President. And that's it. Because if there's an objection, Mr. President, I clearly remember my compadre, Senator Bato del Rosa, giving a very passionate speech that here in the Senate, protektado sila dito. Hindi kami katulad ng House na binabadyan yung witness. I believe him. And I believe the Sergeant at Arms was appointed by the predecessor of Senator Soto, our Sergeant at Arms, can be trusted, Mr. President. So if that is the case, to end this discussion, let's just have a debate in plenary. Or debate, rather, I will move for a motion and let us decide with finality where will the witness be remanded, Mr. President. Because as far as I'm concerned, I will sustain the decision of the Senate President to bring him back here to the Senate. That is what everybody wanted last week, including the minority. So, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, I will yield.
For a while.
Sorry.
Who will yield?
Yeah.
Okay, I will yield, Your Honor.
Okay, the minority leader is recognized.
Sorry, Mr. Presiding Officer, to make it hard. I will yield to Senator Joel to answer that. But the commitment I want is we follow the rules. So next time, pag nagbotohan tayo dito, hindi pa pwedeng may post-action tayo to unless it's an emergency. Nilipat na eh.
I just answer that. Mr. President, as far as, Mr. President, may I be recognized? As
With
far
the
as,
permission of the minority leader,
Yes.
the deputy minority leader.
yes, Mr. President.
I wish to speak, Mr. President, if I may, because it is related to what the minority leader
But, Mr. President,
mentioned, and I'm sure the
for a while,
minority leader will be able
Session
to
suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we recognize the former Majority Floor Leader, now the Deputy Minority Floor Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva.
Senator Joel Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to our Majority Leader. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I have been listening attentively to the statements, comments, ideas, arguments being raised in this August chamber. But I think the very first question that was raised when we opened the session is when Senator Bato de la Rosa asked as to whether or not plenary action can be superseded, Mr. President, by any action of the committee or even the Senate President. Mr. President, let me put on record my disagreement, Mr. President, with the decision that was made when Senator Jinggoy Estrada made a motion here in this August chamber, which was carried upon by the members of the Senate. So it was no longer just Senator Jinggoy or the members of the minority. It is the entire Senate who made that decision. And we wanted to put on record, Mr. President, why we supported that motion of Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Mr. President, last Tuesday, when this guy, the Assistant District Engineer from DPWH, mentioned the name of this representation and that of Senator Jinggoy, he immediately stated that he is scared of the Senate. He is scared of the Senate because he mentioned two senators. And during that time, Mr. President, Senator Tito Soto is already the Senate President. And then afterwards, a lot of congresspersons would say that he is safer in the House of Representatives. And then the lawyers of this fellow would mention na ngayon, all of a sudden, safe na siya dito sa Senado. It puts a bad taste in the mouth, Mr. President, na para po bang may mangyayari sa kanya pag nandito siya sa Senado. And that's why, again, when Senator Jinggoy made that motion, we all supported him. And not just the members of the minority, but the entire members of the Senate. And so, Mr. President, even if the majority right now, including some members of the minority, would support the idea of bringing him here in the Senate premises, Senate custody, I will have no objection, Mr. President. But as a former majority leader, I tried to look at the rules, Mr. President. I have not seen a single line in the Senate rules that says the plenary action ay po pwede pong masupersede ng anumang suggestion ng committee o ng mga abogado po natin sa Senado. But again, Mr. President, let me put on record, I will submit with the wisdom of the majority. If that is the desire of the majority, na ibalik po siya dito, yes, I have no problems with that, Mr. President. It's just that I appeal to my colleagues here. Dear colleagues, kung kayo ho dito ang isa sa mga pinangalanan, kahit wala hong ebidensya, kung kayo po dito ang ginawan ng, sabi nga ni Senator Cayetano, hindi screenshot picture ng isang telepono. Kayo ho yung gawan ng ganun. Kayo ho yung gawan na sabihin, idinala sa bahay nyo yung pera. Doon po sa simbahan ng JIL Church. Mr. President, hindi ko ho alam kung anong mararamdaman nyo kung nasa sapatos ko po kayo. Kahit ho si Satanas, hindi papayag dun sa script niya. Tatanggap ka ng suhol sa simbahan. Tapos, kung ano yung sabihin niya, yun ang masusunod. Doon ako sa PNP custodial. Doon ako sa Senado ngayon, nagbago na isip ko, and then susunod doon tayo. Mahirap po lunukin yun, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, sana hindi nyo maranasan itong ginawa sa amin. Lahat ng katotohanan, pumupunta sa atin. Yung sinasabing CA member ako, 2023 of October, 2024 po ako naging CA. Ang dami nyo rito, kalahati po dito, CA nun. 2023, sabi, kino-confirm si Secretary Bonoan. 2022, confirmed si Secretary Bonoan. Paulit-ulit po ako dito, wala akong flood control, walang maiturong flood control. And yet, ito, paniniwalaan nasa news, nasa lahat po. Dito sa atin, binanggit yung mga kongresista, pero wala, parang falling to deaf ears, Mr. President. Again, Mr. President, hindi ko kailangan na may sumuporta sa akin dito sa Senado. Kahit isa po dito sa Senado, I appreciate yung mga naniniwala. Kung hindi kayo naniniwala, it's not my problem. Ang alam ko lang, Mr. President, mahirap na ikaw paparatangan tapos sa mismong sarili mong bahay, hindi ka maproteksyonan. Sa mismong sarili mong bahay, pinagdududahan ka o hindi ka man lang mapakinggan, Mr. President. At parang ang nagiging dating ngayon, kung ano ang gusto ni Bryce, nitong assistant district engineer, siya po yung masusunod. So yun lang Mr. President. Akin po, kung ibabalik po siya dito, let the plenary decide and let's continue to abide by our rules. Marami pong salamat, Ginoong Pangulo.
Senator Jingo Estrada, Mr. President, would like to be recognized.
Senator Jingo Estrada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this morning, I received a report that Mr. Bryce Hernandez was transferred here from the Pasay City Jail, and it came to as a big surprise to this representation, since we approved that Bryce Hernandez be committed to the Pasay City Jail. We approved it in plenary. Mr. President, last Tuesday, when he appeared before the TRICOM at the House Committee, at the House of Representatives, the opening statement, if my memory serves me right, of Mr. Bryce Hernandez is that, pwede ba dito na lang ako makulong? Ayoko pong bumalik sa Senado dahil merong mga senador na involved dito sa flood control. And much to my surprise, he mentioned this representation together with Senator Joel Villanueva. After his testimony, full of lies, according to the Senate President, he talked with the Speaker of the House, and they reached an agreement that he be committed at the PNP Custodial Center. But when I discovered that when he was at the PNP Custodial Center, not one OSA member was guarding him there. Ni isa sa mga OSA na dapat meron tayong physical custody of that person. Wala nang pakialam ang pulis dyan eh. Tayo na ang may physical custody. Pero nasaan? Nasaan ang nagagawardya sa kanya doon? Eh kung biglang tumakas yun, biglang pinatakas ng pulis yun, paano na? So after that, nagdesisyon po tayo here, plenary, that we commit him at the Pasay City Jail. And everybody approved of it. When I made my motion, sinigundahan ni Majority Leader Senator Migsubiri, and no one objected. At ang sabi dito, I got hold of this letter from the lawyer of Mr. Bryce Hernandez. Third to the last paragraph. We appeal for this because today there is renewed faith. Ito, September 15, today. Under your leadership, Senate President Soto, and with Chairman Lacson's stewardship of the Blue Ribbon Committee, there is assurance that the Senate will stand not only as a body of discipline, but as an exemplar of fairness. Mr. President, noong Tuesday, sabi ni Bryce Hernandez, ayaw niya rito. Kayo na po ang Senate President noon. Bakit ngayon sasabihin itong abogado niya, there is renewed faith? Bakit nung sinabi ni Bryce Hernandez, Senate President po kayo, wala ba siyang faith sa inyo noon nung nagsalita siya? Noong Tuesday, na ayaw niya bumalik dito sa Senado? Bakit ngayon niya lang sasabihin na meron siyang renewed faith? Bakit lagi natin sinusunod kung ano gustong kapritsyo ni ni Bryce Hernandez? Gusto niya malipat sa ano? Ayaw niya rito, nilipat niyo sa custodial. Nung nilipat natin sa Pasay, gusto niya naman ngayon malipat dito. Ano ba talaga? Why are we giving so much importance or credence to this person who is a liar, who is the number one suspect of this corruption, what is happening in our country today? Bakit? Bakit? Meron ba nagproprotection sa House of Representatives? Bakit nung nag-hearing ang Blue Ribbon Committee po, nung si Congressman Marcoleta pang chairman ng Blue Ribbon, nagbanggit si Diskaya, ilang congressman ang involved sa corruption. Pagdating nung kinabukasan, hindi na front page, hindi masyadong pinag-usapan. Nung si Bryce Hernandez na, nagbanggit ng 2 senador, front page na kagad kami. Kahit hindi totoo yung sinasabi niya, na walang basihan. 30% commission daw. Ang putang ina. I'm sorry. Strike out from the record. I'm sorry.
The phrase is
How can-
stricken off the record.
How can I demand 30%? What is his basis, Mr. President? Pagkatapos niyan, wala na, kumalat na. Front page na sa lahat ng mga newspaper of general circulation. Lahat na. Masama na kami ni Joel Villanueva. Sa social media, everything, lahat. I've been there. Kaya pinag-iingatan ko pangalan ko. Why should I do such a thing, Mr. President? Why? I will never do such thing, Mr. President. Porkit ba I'm actively participating in the Blue Ribbon Committee? Porkit ba matapang ako magtanong? Ako na kaagad ang target nila? Bakit? I'm just doing my job as your senator. I have an oath to defend. I want to get all the bad crooks here in the government. That is my duty as your senator, Mr. President. Mr. President, sobra-sobra na. Lahat po, kami apektado na. Even the Senate, as an institution, is also affected by the testimony of one habitual liar. Bakit paniniwalaan natin siya? Bakit yung yung sinigaw ng mga congressman? Bakit? Bakit hindi natin imbestigahan? Bakit yung mga senador ang hindi imbestigahan? Ako, I'm open to an investigation. In fact, Mr. President, ngayon pa lang, kahit hindi pa nagko-comment sa Blue Ribbon Committee ni Senator Lacson, ngayon pa lang, I'm willing to sign any waiver to open my bank accounts. And that I'll put that on record. I don't know with Senator Joel. Maybe he will also conform with my idea. So, Mr. President, wag naman ganun. Bakit panay senador lang ang gusto nilang ipako sa krus? Bakit yung mga ibang mga politiko? Dahil, porket ba sikat kami? Hindi naman yata tama yun. Pare-pareho lang tayo nasa gobyerno. Pare-pareho lang tayo naninilbihan dito. Yun lang po, Ginong Pangulo. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we thank our distinguished gentlemen for their manifestations. And during the break, I believe we have reached a consensus. Mukhang hindi naman po siguro tayo mag-away na yun. No need for a vote with the Minority Leader and the group. I believe that better coordination na lang po. And we agreed to coordinate better with the Minority Floor Leader in these certain issues. Mr. President, you agreed. The Senate President agreed. So, with that, Mr. President, may recognize the Minority Floor Leader.
Minority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. President, and may I also manifest. And extraordinary lang po na pinagbutuhan natin yan sa plenary. So I just want to express that we want to support our chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, Senator Lacson. So after this, it will be the committee and the chairman in coordination with the Senate President. Diba? Hindi man kailangan parating pagbutuhan dito. May mga extraordinary circumstance lang na nangyari. So we want to normalize not only the consultation, but the following of our rules. And we look forward to working with Senator Lacson and, of course, the Senate President.
So we thank the good Minority Floor Leader for that, Mr. President. So we don't need to make another motion, Mr. President. Therefore, the decision to bring Bryce Hernandez here to the Senate is sustained, Mr. President. And let's move forward, Mr. President. With the permission of the body, and I believe the request of Senator Erwin Tulfo is that it should be recognized tomorrow na lang po. Anyway, it's a bit late. Kawawa naman ng ating kaibigan. Pero sabi po namin, siya ang unang i-recognize bukas. And before we do that, we'd just like to elect the chairpersons of the committees for the minority, Mr. President, so that they can already do their work as well as committee chair.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 10 of Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I move to elect Senator Joel Villanueva as the chairperson of the Committee on Banks and Financial Institutions and Currencies. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Villanueva is elected Chairman of the Committee on Banks.
Mr. President, I move to elect as well Chairman of the Civil Service Government Reorganization Professional Regulation on the part of the minority or member, Mr. President, as Chairperson, Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Senator Bato de la Rosa is elected.
He's already the current, Mr. President. I'm just putting this for the record. I move as well to elect as Chairman for the Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs, Senator Robin Padilla. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Robin Padilla is elected. Cultural
President.
Communities.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move as well to elect as Chairman of the Public Information and Mass Media, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, Mr. President.
Senator Robin Padilla is elected.
Mr. President, I move to elect as well the Chairperson of the Committee on Sports, Senator Bong Go, Mr. President.
Hearing no objection, so elected.
Mr. President, I move to elect as Chairman of the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, no other than Senator Rodante Marcoleta, Mr. President.
Hearing no objection, Senator Marcoleta is elected.
Mr. President, I move to elect as Chairman of the Committee on Urban Planning, Housing, and Resettlement, our former Senate President, Senator Cheese Escudero, Mr. President.
Senator Cheese Escudero is elected.
Mr. President, I move to elect as the Chairman of Youth, no other than Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo.
Hearing no objection, Senator Bongo is elected.
I move as well to elect the Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Relations, Senator Amy Marcos, Mr. President.
She was former chairman.
She's the former chairman. We're just
Senator
affirming.
Amy Marcos, re-elected.
Confirming. We're just confirming. There's a confusion on her face, but we're just confirming. And she has several treaties on hand to defend. So we will not anymore disturb her tenure of that committee for the meantime, Mr. President.
Yes, I know for a fact that there are treaties pending. I was just thinking that maybe she was want to change the aisle.
The what? I'm sorry? Change the?
Change in the aisle. All right, go ahead.
Mr. President, I move to elect as well the chairperson of the Committee on Local Government, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Estrada is elected.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to proceed with the additional reference of business.
The additional reference of business. Meron? You may proceed.
Additional reference to business, resolutions. Proposed Senate Resolution 103, congratulating and commending Team Package Makers for making history as the first Filipino team to win the Worldwide Stage Uniting Performers competition in China. Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 104, honoring the life and legacy of the late Mike De Leon, renowned Filipino filmmaker, and expressing profound condolences on his passing to his family and loved ones. Senator Lapid.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 105, commending and congratulating Filipino pool champion Carlo Biado for his induction into the Billiard Congress of America Hall of Fame. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution number 106, congratulating and commending Team Dink and Drink Philippines for winning the championship in the inaugural Pickleball Champions League Asia held in Shenzhen, China. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 107, congratulating and commending Filipino triathlete Kira Ellis for winning the gold medal at the 2025 Europe Triathlon Junior Cup in Riga, Latvia. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 108, congratulating and commending woman Grandmaster Janelle May Fraina for making history as the first Filipina to win an international women's chess crown at the 31st Abu Dhabi International Chess Festival Ladies Blitz. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 109, congratulating and commending Alexandria M. Ayala for honoring the country with its first Women's Tennis Association title via the Guadalajara 125 Open on September 7, 2025 at the Grandstand Caliente in Guadalajara, Mexico. Senator Zubiri.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 111, congratulating and commending Alexandra Alex Ayala for being the first Filipino to win a WTA title after ruling the 2025 Guadalajara 125 Open, making another historical milestone for Philippine tennis. Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Rules.
112, congratulating and commending Alexandra Alex Maniego Ayala for winning the 2025 Guadalajara 125 Open in Mexico and becoming the first Filipino to ever win a Women's Tennis Association title. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 113, congratulating and commending Carlo Biado for his historic win as a two-time world pool champion. Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 114, congratulating and commending the Philippine Women's National Football Team, the Filipinas, for qualifying in the 2026 Asian Football Confederation Women's Asian Cup. Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 115, congratulating and commending Alexandra Alex Ayala for winning the Guadalajara 125 Open, her first Women's Tennis Association title. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 116, commending and congratulating the Manila Muay Thai team for winning 3 gold medals and 3 silver medals in a mixed martial arts tournament held in Sandakan, Malaysia. Senator Go.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 117, commending and congratulating Filipino tennis superstar Alex Ayala for winning her maiden victory in the Women's Tennis Association title at Guadalajara 125 Open. Senator Go.
To the Committee on Rules.
119, resolution directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry into the alleged inefficiencies in the enforcement and implementation of RA 11032, otherwise known as the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018. Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committee on Trade.
Resolution 120, congratulating and commending the Philippine National Paddle Team or Paddle Filipinas for emerging as champion of the 2025 Asia Pacific Paddle Cup held in Selangor, Malaysia from August 28 to 31, 2025. Senator Zubiri.
To the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 122, congratulating and commending Paddle Filipinas and national team athletes Joanna Tai Tan and Argil Lance Canizares for winning the championship title in the mixed professional category in the Asia Pacific Paddle Tour Open Kuala Lumpur 2025. Senator Cayetano P.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
123, congratulating and commending Paddle Filipinas and national team athlete Joanna Tao Yi Tan for winning the championship title in the professional female category at the Asia Pacific Paddle Tour Open Bali 2025. Senator Cayetano P.
Committee on Rules.
Second additional reference of business.
You may proceed.
Message of the President of the Philippines, letter of His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. dated 6 September 2025, informing Congress of his veto message regarding the enrolled Senate Bill number 1273, House Bill number 11461, an act providing equal access to public cemeteries for Muslim Filipinos, indigenous peoples, and other denominations, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. The latter's veto message states, while I respectfully acknowledge the plenary power of the Congress to establish laws that value the dignity of every human person and recognize the rights of indigenous cultural communities in accordance with the Constitution, unfortunately, I find the subject measure to be inconsistent with the non-establishment clause of the same Constitution. In its minimal sense, the clause prohibits the state from passing laws which aid one religion and aid all religions or prefer one religion over another. Stated otherwise, it prescribes the state from enacting laws that directly supports institutional religion. Further, the provision of the bill that directs the concerned LGU to acquire real property to construct a public cemetery if the required apportionment is not sufficient, and it is realistic to assume that there will be insufficient apportionment in most public cemeteries, goes against the very grain of the provision of the Constitution which directs that, quote, no public money or property shall be appropriated, applied, paid, or employed, directly or indirectly, for the use, benefit, or support of any sect, church, denomination, sectarian institution, or system of religion. Hence, pursuant to Section 27, Paragraph 1, Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution, I am returning herewith without my signature the enrolled Senate number 1273, House number 11461.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
Communication, letter from the Office of the Executive Secretary dated 5 September 2025, transmitting to the Senate the veto message of His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., pursuant to Section 27, Paragraph 1, Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution on enrolled House Bill number 7500, an act establishing an aquaculture feed mill plant in Barangay Bahit, Municipality of Panay, Province of Capiz, and appropriating funds therefore.
Referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I move to elect the following members to the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations. For Vice Chairperson, Senator Erwin Tulfo. The members for the majority, Senator Bam Aquino, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Lapid, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Rafi Tulfo, Senator Ligarda, Senator Pia Cayetano, Senator Mark Villar. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, enumerated names are hereby elected.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I move to elect the following members of the Committee on Government Corporations and Public Enterprises. Members for the majority, Senator Camille Villar, Senator Lito Lapid, Senator Win Gatchalian, and Senator Ligarda. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, enumerated names hereby elected.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I move to elect the following members of the Committee on Public Services. As Vice Chairperson, Senator Ejercito, Senator Gatchalian. As members, for the majority, Senator Aquino, Senator Ligarda, Senator Pangilinan, and Senator Mark Villar. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, so elected.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I move to elect the following members of the Committee on Public Works. As for Vice Chairperson, Senators Ejercito, Senator Erwin Tulfo, Senator Marcos, and as members, Senator Camille Villar, Senator Rafi Tulfo, Senator Ligarda, and Senator Lapid for the majorities. So move, Mr. President.
Hearing no objection, enumerated names are hereby elected.
Mr. President, as to the designation of the members of the Committee on Finance and the Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, each being composed of 20 members, may I respectfully move that all other senators, excluding the Senate President and the ex-officio members, be elected as regular members of these committees. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? The motion is approved.
Mr. President, upon the instruction of the Chairperson of the Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, I manifest the designation of the following Vice Chairpersons: Senator Lacson, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Go, and Senator Estrada.
Any objection? Hearing none, so approved.
Mr. President, before we adjourn, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, I seek the floor. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Robin Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Ginoong Pangulo, nabanggit po, pasensya na po, nabanggit po kanina yung patungkol po sa pagveto ng ating mahal na Pangulo sa Equal Access to Public Cemeteries Act. Nais ko lamang po magbigay ng manifestasyon.
Go ahead.
A'udhu billahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Bismillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ginoong Pangulo, ako po'y tumatayo ngayon upang ipahayag po ang aking saloobin bilang pangunahing may akda at sponsor sa ginawang pagbito ng ating mahal na Pangulo sa panukalang ating pinasa sa bulwagang ito, ang Equal Access to Public Cemeteries Bill. Ang batayan ng veto ay ang non-establishment clause ng ating konstitusyon at ang pagbabawal sa paggamit ng pondo ng bayan para sa layuning pangrelihiyon. Subalit, malinaw pong dapat idiin ang panukalang ito ay hindi pagtatag, hindi pagsuporta, at hindi rin pagpabor sa anumang relihiyon. Ang ating layunin ay malinaw, tiyakin ang kawalan ng diskriminasyon at igarantiya ang pantay na pagtrato sa paggamit ng isang serbisyong hindi may kakaila na mahalaga sa bawat Pilipino, ang marangal na himlayan. Ang pampublikong sementeryo, Ginoong Pangulo, ay likha ng Estado at ng pinamamahalaang ng Estado. Ang paglalaan ng bahagi nito para sa ating mga kapatid na Muslim, para sa mga katutubo at para sa iba pang denominasyon ay hindi pagtatag ng relihiyon, kundi pagkilala na ang bawat isa saan man nanggaling, anumang pananampalataya ay may karapatang mailibing ng may dignidad. Ang mismong ating saligang batas, Artikulo 2, Seksyon 11 at 22 ay nagsasaad na dapat pahalagahan ng Estado ang dignidad ng bawat tao at kilalanin ang karapatan ng ating mga katutubo. Dagdag pa po rito, ang paggamit ng pondo ng bayan para rito ay hindi para sa relihiyon, kung hindi para sa kapakanan ng mamamayan. Ang paglilibing ay hindi lamang seremonyal. Ito ay pangunahing pangangailangan ng tao. Ang pagbibigay ng disenteng libingan, anuman ang pananampalataya, ay isang sekular, makatao at konstitusyonal na tungkulin ng ating pamahalaan. Ginoong Pangulo, hindi sapat ang pagiging neutral upang makamtan ang tunay na pagkakapantay-pantay. Tungkulin ng Estado na magbigay akomodasyon sa mga nasa laylayan upang lubos nilang maisagawa ang kanilang karapatan. Kung hindi ito gagawin ng Estado, mananatili ang isang sistemang pumapabor sa nakakarami, habang ang mga minorya ay kailangan bumiyahe ng malayo. Madalas ay lampas pa sa lalawigan o rehiyon para lamang mailibing ng marangal ang kanilang mahal sa buhay. Mga kasama, malinaw po, ang ating panukala ay hindi pagtataguyod ng relihiyon, kundi pagtataguyod ng katarungan at pagkakapantay-pantay. Bagamat iginagalang ko ang kapangyarihan ng mahal na Pangulo na magveto, naninindigan akong tungkulin ng Kongreso na ipaglaban ang adhikain ng ating mga kababayang matagal nang nakararanas ng kakulangan at kawalang katarungan. Umaasa po ako na muling mapag-usapan, maipasa at maisabatas ang panukalang ito. Isang panukalang makatao, makatarungan at higit sa lahat, tunay na konstitusyonal. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Bamakini is likewise seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Bamakino is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. President. Would the gentleman from Camarines Norte yield to a few questions?
Opo. Isa pong karangalan ang makakuha po ng pagtatanong sa ating ginagalang na senador.
Mr. President, nung ito po'y napasa, wala pa po ako dito. Baka maaari niyo pong ma-explain muli, no? Ano po ba ang maibibigay sana ng Equal Access in Cemeteries Act, Mr. President?
Opo, ito po kasi ay matagal na po itong issue na sa ating pong public cemetery, hindi po nagkakaroon ng pagkakahiwalay-hiwalay. Ang gusto po natin, hindi naman po espesyal ang aming hinihingi. Ang aming pong hinihingi, katulad po ng ginawa ni Mayor Isko Moreno sa Maynila, ay binigyan po niya ng lugar kung saan po yung mga Muslim na pwedeng ilibing. Hindi po kailangan kaming gawan ng sarili. Hindi po. Doon lang po sa public cemetery, bibigyan lang po nila ng lugar, isang espasyo para po sa mga Muslim. Katulad din po, diyan din po sa, ginawa din po diyan sa, dito po sa North Cemetery po, meron din po doon, para naman din sa mga Hudyo. Meron din po sila doon, sarili. Yun lang naman po yung hinihingi namin na sana sa mga Muslim, sa mga katutubo, kasi po bawat religion po o bawat paniniwala, maging pagano man po yan, meron pong paraan ng paglilibing. Ang hinihingi po namin, magkaroon ng pantay. Pantay lang po, kasi ang hirap po naman na tayo po magkakasama dito sa bansang ito at lagi natin sinasabi na meron inclusive tayo, inclusive. Paano po magiging inclusive kung ang ating po mga kapatid na Muslim at ating mga katutubo ay hindi po binibigyan ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng sariling espasyo?
Mr. President, so sa mga ilang syudad at munisipyo, meron naman pong tamang implementation ng Equal Access to Cemeteries Act. Meron po, no?
Meron pong ang kailangan po natin ngayon kasi, Ginoong Pangulo, batas po para yung pong mga katulad po namin, meron pong mga lugar katulad po sa Maynila, sa Lawag din po, meron din po silang ginawa. Sa Lawag po mismo.
Mr. President, meron naman pong best practice sa iba't ibang mga lugar. Hindi naman ho ito kakaiba, no?
Opo, hindi po ito bago.
Tama po ba, Mr. President, sa mga lugar na yan, may binibigay na espasyo para sa mga kapatid na Muslim? Siguro po, base na rin sa dami ng mga posibleng mamatay, no? Paano po ba yan na ibabahagi? May porsyento po ba yan? O basta may espasyo po ang kapatid dating Muslim?
Maganda po sana, kasi po ngayon, Ginoong Pangulo, mapapansin niyo po, basta bawat palengke sa lahat ng sulok po ng Pilipinas, makikita niyo po, nandyan ang mga maranaw. Opo, hindi na po yan kakaiba sa atin. Basta po may palengke, may maranaw po dyan. Kaya po hinihingi natin, halimbawa po, sa bawat lugar po sana, mabibigyan lang po sila ng... Kasi meron naman po yan census . Alam naman nila kung ilan yung nandoon na Muslim, mabigyan lang po ng espasyo. Yun lang naman po.
Kumbaga po, Mr. President, depende sa lugar. Kung 10% ang kapatid na Muslim doon, sana sa public cemetery, may 10% rin doon nakalaan para sa kapatid na Muslim.
Inshallah, opo, ganun po, Ginoong Pangulo. Opo.
Mr. President, parang di naman po yan masyadong mahirap, no? Maaari niyo po bang maulit? Bakit po ito na-veto ng Presidente?
Meron daw po kasi sa konstitusyon na hindi daw po pwede magpondo ang ating Estado sa mga, alam niyo po, yung pa sa religion, ganyan po. Pinapaliwanag nga po natin na hindi po ito para sa isang religion lang. Ito po ay para po sa mga tinatawag po natin nasa laylayan na wala pong capability. Na kanila po, ang sabi po kasi dyan hayaan na lang, kawawa naman nga yung ating mga kababayan na Muslim, pero ganun talaga, ibabiyahe na lang magmula. Kung ikaw ay nataga Maynila, ibabiyahe mo pa, isasakay mo ng eroplano, makauwi ng Lanao o makauwi po ng Sulu, napakalaking gastos po noon, Ginoong Pangulo.
Opo.
Ang hinihingi lang po natin maliit pong espasyo.
Opo, Mr. President, I agree with the gentleman from Camarines Norte. At ipapalala ko lang po, meron tayong mga batas sa Muslim holiday, Catholic holiday, no? So hindi naman po bago na magkaroon ng mga batas na may tinutukoy o may pinapaborang relihiyon sa ating bansa. At sa ating mismong constitution, meron pong reference to the Almighty, no? So meaning sa constitution po natin, meron din namang pagpapahalaga sa mga relihiyon at pagpapahalaga sa Diyos na may kapal, no? So hindi naman ho ito kakaiba. Mr. President, panghuling tanong, ito pong equal access ay para lang po ba sa mga kapatid na Muslim or para rin sa iba't ibang klaseng relihiyon po siya?
Opo, malinaw po doon sa ating Ginoong Pangulo. Ang delegate po natin doon, equal access po ito sa Muslim, sa mga katutubo po, kasi meron din po silang paraan ng paglilibing at doon din po sa ibang denominasyon, sa ibang religion po.
Maraming salamat, Mr. President, at kung susubok po kayo mag-refile, we will support, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Senator Risa Ontiveros is recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Hindi po ito interpellation, kundi isa lamang pong manifestasyon. Mr. President, we respectfully manifest our support para sa Chair sa gitna ng veto sa kanilang bill. Ang paglalaan ng special burial areas para sa ating mga kapatid na Muslim at katutubo sa mga public cemeteries. Hindi po ito labag sa Equal Protection Clause. Sa halip, pinagpatibay nito ang tunay na pagkakapantay-pantay. Kasi kinikilala ang unique religious requirements nila, gaya ng mabilis na pagpapalibing at tamang direksyon ng libingan na hindi natutugunan kung purely common burial ground lamang. Para po sa akin, di rin ito lumalabag sa non-establishment clause. Ang bawal sa saligang batas ay ang pagtatag o pagtatangi sa isang relihiyon. Ang hakbang na ito ay actually paraan para alisin ang hadlang sa free exercise of religion. Hindi po pinopromote ng gobyerno ang Islam. Ang ginagawa lang ay pagbibigay daan sa karapatan ng bawat Pilipino na isabuhay ang kanyang pananampalataya. Gaya rin ng pagpayag ng prayer rooms o special diets sa government facilities. Sa ganitong paraan, ang paglalaan ng special places sa sementeryo para sa mga Muslim o katutubo ay tunay na pagsasabuhay sa mga prinsipyo ng free exercise, equal protection at non-establishment sa ating konstitusyon. Salamat po, Mr. President, at salamat po, Good Chairman.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Likewise, this representation supports Senator Robin Padilla sa kanya po pakipaglaban para sa karapatan at tradisyon at kultura ng ating mga kapatid na Muslim. With that, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Before your motion, Majority Leader, it would be best, considering the opinion of Senator Robin Padilla, Senator De Vera, Senator Bamakino, it would be best that it be referred to the Committee on Rules, because the Committee on Rules was declared as to look into, or was the veto message was sent to the Committee on Rules, I should say, I'm sorry. And therefore, there is a possibility that the Committee on Rules can look into that. And perhaps a motion by the members of the Committee on Rules to take action on the privileged speech or opinions by the others.
Yes, Mr. President, with that, I move that we refer the privileged speech of Senator Robin Padilla and the manifestation of Senator Bamakino and Senator Risa Ontiveros to the Committee on Rules. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Measure is approved.
With that, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, September 16, 2025.
Any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, September 16, 2025.